Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our day 7 of the Her Story
It's
online.
12 o'clock.
And I want to welcome my co-host for today, joining me from the US of A. And we were expecting another co-host who's coming to us from New Zealand. So my name is Ruth Dengwani. I am in Harare in Zimbabwe. Ladies, welcome. Please
Well,
introduce yourselves and tell us where you are.
I
okay.
am Terry Williams from the state of Indiana in the U.S. Welcome.
Hi, I'm Jerry. I'm Sarah Jillian, and I'm in Toronto, Canada.
And I am Jerry O'Lyon, and I'm coming to you from my RV in California, but I live in Utah.
And we have Charlotte joining us.
Hi,
Tell them where you're from, Charlotte.
I'm Charlotte Kenyon, and I'm from Texas.
U.S., you are surrounded.
Yay, Texas!
I am surrounded. I am surrounded. Welcome, ladies, and thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for being part of our tribe. And it's really, really a pleasure to share today with you. So, good morning to Australia. Good morning to New Zealand. It's good evening for me. It's 9 p.m. where I am. And I know it's afternoon for you ladies in the US.
Yeah. Well, it's
Yep.
in Canada. It's 3 p.m.
3
It is
p.m.
2
All right.
p.m. from
Jerry.
Indiana.
It's noon here in California.
It's two.
Wow.
2
It's
in
two for
Texas.
you,
2
Charlotte.
p.m.
Yeah.
So we are in different time
We're all
zones.
around the clock.
And
I think
Gertrude,
It's
she's
so
in New
strange
Zealand.
that we can actually meet up.
Yeah. Bruce,
I
are you on a
know.
different day?
In the comfort of our homes.
Yeah, which
Yes.
is wonderful. Yes.
And
Yeah.
before I go to you, Jerry, I just want to say hello to Gertrude. She's in the background somewhere watching and hovering over us. And we really still wishing you well and that you get well soon and you'll be able to travel back to Australia. Get better. Actually, get well. So
Yeah.
sending you prayers and healing, hugs and kisses. Over to you, Jerry. You can introduce the day for us. What do we have today?
We are. Does Charlotte want to go first?
Okay.
I know we have Charlotte with us, and
All right.
would you
Charlotte,
like
do
to
we
go?
I can.
Okay.
we
Okay.
don't have your bio, so sorry. Will you please introduce yourself? Tell us a bit about yourself and then tell us your story.
I
Okay.
emailed your bio, ladies. You have it.
Okay. Let me look. Let me look. Then I just got my email right here.
Is she
Okay,
Charlene?
it's here.
No?
It's here. I have it. May
Okay.
I? Okay. Charlotte Canyon
Yes.
has shared her stories to thousands of.
Okay.
I'm not hearing her.
Okay. We are going
I
to start all
know.
over, ladies.
Sorry, Jerry.
Okay.
Okay.
Terry, will you remove us from screen so that there's only Jerry and Charlotte?
That's what I was trying to do. Okay.
Okay. Can you hear me on here? I have no sound.
I can hear you.
Oh, you can. Okay. Yeah, then I'll go ahead and start your bio again. Charlotte Canyon, actress, award-winning author, and radio host Charlotte Canyon has shared her stories to thousands of listeners. Her passion for caregiving senior health care is one of the fastest growing industries in the world, and she wants to share her knowledge with everyone she can. Knowledge is power. Canyon's first book, You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. One best self-help book in the International Top Author Award. She has won many awards in her career, including a President's Award for serving her community. Charlotte Canyon shares antidotes and practical advice to help others parenting parents. Build and reinforce happy memories by finding humor during an otherwise arduous and often overwhelming end-of-life journey. Drawing from her personal experience in caring for loved ones with dementia, Alzheimer's, and Parkinson's, Canyon will provide insight to help prepare anyone now faced with the challenge of caring for a loved one or aging parent. Canyon has 4 golden rules to live by: love, respect, patience, and forgiveness. Topics: the importance of caregivers' attitude, how to divide up parenting parents' responsibilities, why adult children and seniors should learn to play together again, dealing with stress, laughter helps. Thank you for joining us today, Charlotte. This is my dear and dear to my heart, and so I'm very excited to hear from you today. Please share your stories with us.
Well, thank you, Jerry. I appreciate that introduction. My journey started 20 years ago, and my father-in-law lived with us, and he developed dementia. At the same time, my mother was diagnosed with Alzheimer's and my dad with Parkinson. And we all know that 97% of caregivers are female. And I just happen to be the only female on either side of the family. So the brunt fell on my shoulders. Now I have to tell you, I had a job. I had the best job in the world. I was an event planner for a large corporation. So that means I got to party all the time. So I didn't want to give up my job. But when you have responsibilities, sometimes they just take precedence. So I actually retired 10 years younger than I actually wanted to. But now I've got a new career because taking care of 3 parents at the same time is overwhelming. I remember thinking to myself, it's like I was thrown into the deep end of the swimming pool and I had forgotten how to swim. Because there's nothing in life that prepares you to take care of your parents. They always took care of us, but there is nothing that prepares you to take care of them. I actually thought I was the only one. Now, I know somewhere in the back of my mind, other people are going through this. But 20 years ago, the senior healthcare industry looked entirely different than it does today. I remember my parents saying they never wanted to be in what they called a nursing home. Well, now they're called communities. And they are communities because they love their residents. They love on their residents. They take care of them the way the family should. And the reason these communities have built up is we live in a country. Now, those of y'all that are not in America, I applaud you because there are other countries that do better job of taking care of their seniors at home than we did or that we do. It's still happening. But I had to look at everything that was going on. My father-in-law lived with me. And you know how God sometimes gives you a thought and you might speak it before you even think about it. I remember when we had to, my mom and my husband said, well, we'll just move her into the house with us. Before I could even think, my mouth said, if you do that, you'll bury me first. What I didn't know at that moment when I said that, and I learned it 5 or 6 years later, was that 67% of caregivers die before the person they're caring for. But somehow innately, I knew that I couldn't handle anymore. So I found a beautiful facility close to me and I could go visit her every day. What I learned from that was they could do the day to day, giving her a bath, changing her diapers, giving her meds. And I wouldn't make a mistake giving her meds, and her dignity would be intact because I know my mom didn't want me to change her Depends. I did several times, and I both of us were very uncomfortable. So what I'm saying is it has to be a personal thing, and you have to know where each of you are at, or the families. That's another thing I learned through my journey was families do not get along when one of the parents are getting elderly. They're not going to agree. And the more siblings you have, the more disagreeable it gets. I've seen it over and over again. I guess I was a little bit blessed because I do have one sibling. My husband was an only child, but my sibling lives 3,000 miles away, and his reaction to when mom and dad started with their Alzheimer's and the Parkinson, his was good luck, sissy. It was all mine. So I was lucky. I didn't have to ask anyone else what to do, when to do it, what was the right thing to do. And did I make all the right decisions? No, none of us will make all the right decisions. But what we do is we learn. If I made a mistake, I won't do that again. And what I'm sharing with you, this is my book. You have to laugh to keep from crying, How to Parent Your Parents. And this is my mother's hands on the cover. I remember my publisher when he sent me the first draft of the cover. I don't know whose hands they were, but I said, "No, if we're going to put hands on the cover, it's going to be me holding my mother's hands." And God had that picture made many, that's another story, but he had that picture made 4 or 5 years earlier. Caring for your parents is probably one of the hardest thing you'll do, but it can be a joy because right now my passion is for adult children to reconnect with their parents, maybe in a way they've never connected with their parents, and create new memories. Now, we've all got memories of our childhood, but create new memories that they can carry on because those of us that have lost our loved ones, we know that the memories are what sustains us, what gives us that smile on our face. We remember, the good times. Yes, there's some bad times too, but the good times are what keeps us going. Uh, do I miss my mom? Yes. There'll be things exciting happen to me, just like my book. And I wouldn't have my book if it wasn't for my mother's journey and my dad's journey and my father-in-law's journey. But there are times I want to pick up the phone. I want to call mom and go, Mom, look what's happening. Because she was my biggest cheerleader. She and I were best friends. I love her to death. But I remember, when I go visit her, it was a roller coaster. Some days she would know who I was, and then another day she wouldn't. And that's just the nature of the disease. Our many diseases, the dementia is like the umbrella that covers all of those horrible things that happen to our seniors. My dad, he had Parkinson. Now, he was pretty sharp till the end, except that if you know anything about Parkinson, they get paranoia. And paranoia makes them think all kinds of weird and odd things. And that was just really hard to handle, when he'd come up with some of those really bizarre stories. And the other thing, I'm going to close with this. The other thing is never argue with your parents because one of those 4 golden rules, was love, respect, patience, and forgiveness. Think about the respect. They're your parents. They're your parents, whether they're on earth or in heaven. But respect them for who, what, and where they are at that moment. And when my dad would tell me these paranoia things, I would have to do my very best and use my patience, to just kind of work through it and go, this is the disease. This is not my dad talking. So that's just a little bit of the journey. But my passion is to help people laugh through the good times and the bad. because laughter creates those endorphins in our body and it actually heals ourselves. So this is Charlotte Canyon, and my book is You Have to Laugh to Keep from Crying, How to Parent Your Parents. And I'll turn it back over to Jerry.
That's lovely. Lovely.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah.
There we go. Charlotte, I loved it. It was so well presented, and I couldn't agree with you more. I did basically the same thing you did with my late husband's grandmother, and then at the same time my mother, and then eventually my father, and then eventually my son-in-law. And so, and 100%, I could not agree with you more about laughter. I wrote a book called Grandma's Buttons about our adventure, because I was a young woman when I took care of my husband's grandmother, and I had young children, so we had to make it fun so the kids wouldn't be afraid.
That's
And it worked so well that all of us have really fond memories of she was supposed to live 2 months, and she ended up living 12 years. And
Wow.
we have huge fond memories of our time with Grandma.
Well, I would love to get your address. I would like to send you my book, and I'd love to have your book.
I would love to send you my book. Let's do that very thing. I'll put it in the chat. Thank you very much. Wow. Oh, we have someone new.
And I had an
Yes.
opportunity, Charlotte. We talked yesterday. She and I interviewed yesterday. I had a chance to practice. Today we went to the neurology. My mother's 92.
Yeah.
And so we went to the neurologist today. And so I practiced everything you said. Everything was a joke, okay? And I just laughed and I tried to put it a nice way. I was in the room with her. So when the doctor was asking about changes and her behavior and everything, and I said, she's doing a lot of dreaming lately. And, that was my way of saying she's hallucinating. She thinks she's having people there in its present life. And so I said, she's doing dreaming, and she's never done dreaming before. And the doctor looked at me and smiled. She knew exactly what I was saying.
Yeah.
Because that's what I call it when my mother says, so-and-so has been over here today, and I'm like, we're in COVID, and I know nobody's been in your house but me, So, yeah, so I did get a chance to practice that today. Great. Anyone else have anything? And Charlotte, is there anything you want to share in a parting note if no one else has any comments?
I have another question. So how long ago did you publish your book?
My book has been out 7 years.
7 years. Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
and
wow.
I've written 6 others, but this is the one that gets all my notoriety.
So you've been going through quite a bit. Like I just want to add that now my parents are getting older. They're reaching their 90s. So it's just starting to happen, and they're physically very well and healthy, but mentally, questions are asked over and over again. And I'm just starting to notice aging. All of a sudden, I'll go and visit my father. I have 2 fathers, a biological and a step. And both of them are the same age. And when I go, I just find, there's just, you can feel that they're there and not there. And it's alarming at first, because if you don't see them that often, and when you do see them, wow, things are just, I have to repeat things, and sometimes I look into their eyes and I don't really see them being there,
Yeah.
And they're the ones that know it too. They're the first ones, and they fake it at first. So they might have been faking it for a while.
Yes. Well, that's what I've noticed too, is there's a lot of denial. It's no, and very defensive, and yes, of course I'm paying attention, or yes, of course, and you don't want to start up with them, and I have to
Never.
remind myself, just go with it, because it can be like you react like a child sometimes because it's your parent, and you want to interact the way you've always interacted. I'm quite rebellious, so I'll come back and then I'll go, no, you just okay. It's more, you have to be tolerant and agreeable. You have to change yourself as much as they're changing, I suppose.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
You
And
do.
if your dad tells you the grass is purple, say, oh yeah, that's a pretty purple. I mean,
Exactly.
This is the thing, right?
Yeah, their hallucinations are real. In their mind's eye, what they see is true. And to argue with them and tell them they're wrong only defiles them. It only makes them feel like there's something wrong with them. I went to Alzheimer's support group one time when I first got grandma, and I realized that I was keeping her, and because she lived past 2 months, and I listened to. I mean, I was the only one. I was a young woman.
My name is Jill Tijen. I'm in Centennial, Colorado, in the U.S. That's in the Denver metropolitan area.
We're listening to the tape.
Sorry about that. No, sorry about that. I was downloading. Go ahead.
Anyway, so they, in their mind's eye, they know that's what they know. Like when Grandma saw parasols, women carrying parasols, we thoroughly enjoyed that. When she saw kittens sitting, playing down next to her chair, we acted like the kittens were really there. When she
go with it, yeah.
Those were joyous times for us. When she was born in 1900, and when she woke up every morning, she always knew she was born in 1900. And so whatever year it was how old she was. Well, sometimes she was 17, and sometimes she was 27.
Yeah.
And we lived those days from the morning till night as if it was true, and it made it joyful for us.
Yeah, so, good for you, Jerry. God bless you.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Yeah, I guess you just have to learn to go with the flow of it, and just go with it. There's no question in your mind. You have to be so. You have to just turn a switch in you and just become the parent and become the and it's almost like you're looking after. I know as you're I have a son, and it's when they're little and their imagination is going, and you have to go with them and their journey of where their mind is at. So that too gives you the knowledge to know how to deal again with a parent. Hopefully,
well, it's role reversal, but you never let them know that that it's role reversal.
Right. Oh, that would be the worst thing.
That's where the respect comes in.
Yes.
You honor them. Honoring them makes them healthier. It makes them happier when you honor them, and they deserve it. Let's face it. Okay, that was fabulous. Thank you so much. And I put my address in the chat, Charlotte. So if you go into the chat, you should put it.
Okay, and I'll put mine in there as well.
Fabulous.
All right, ladies. Thank you, Charlotte. Thank you so much. Let me introduce Manuela to you, ladies. She's here. Manuela, hello. Manuela Garcia is joining us from New Zealand. She is the chairperson for the day. But Manuela, we are all here to hold you up, to work with you, and to assist you. So meet Terry from the US, meet Jerry from the US, Sarah.
No, from Canada.
Yes, and Charlotte in the US, Texas, US. So ladies.
It is a pleasure, and Ruth, it is an absolutely honor when I see the screen and with all these beautiful ladies. It's just, yes, it's been a big week, and I'm a morning person, but today somehow I'm feeling a little bit behind schedule, so my apologies. But it's always a pleasure to be here with all of you, and I've been listening to Charlotte. I must really commend you for your book, and I will be really curious to read about it. I haven't directly had that experience with my parents, but most recently through one of my friends. Her mom, she was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, and it's something that it makes you, it brings life through a different perspective, something that perhaps you've never. But yes, a sense of humor. How many times I've got pictures from my friend saying, look, my mom trying to escape again. And it's beautiful, and you can see her mom literally trying to escape through the window. Something that she's now she moved to one of these communities a couple of days ago. However, something in my short interactions with her, something that I discovered was the power of music. Every time I met her, Diane, she would say, "Oh, Manuela, so lovely to meet you." It was really beautiful. So we met so many times because she couldn't remember me. But however, I knew that she loved music. All I had to say was "Summertime," and oh my God, she will continue singing the whole song, and I was always mesmerized. How is it possible? Even to my friend, she would turn around to my friend and she would say, "Who are you?" And that must be one of the most painful as a daughter that you can hear, right? And my friend would say, "Mom, I'm your daughter. You're my mom." And she would say, "You're my daughter? My mom never told me." I had a daughter. So yes, it definitely brings life into perspective, and I must commend you for your book. It will be really helpful and a great tool for so many people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have to share something though. You mentioned summertime,
Yes.
and Gertrude knows this, but I was in the Mrs. Texas Senior America, and my talent was I changed the words to summertime to senior time, and I changed the words in it and did a little senior skit. And it was funny that you mentioned summertime.
Yeah.
That is fantastic. So you can sing as well, Charlotte.
Yeah, you want to hear it? It's only short.
I would love it.
We would love to hear it.
Senior time and the living ain't easy. Knees are hurting, cholesterol's high. They got no money for retirement. So hush, little senior, don't you cry.
That's great.
Oh wow! That was so powerful.
Wonderful.
Wow. So Manuela,
Yes.
you're going to present.
Yes.
We want to ask you to do 2 presentations today. So
Fantastic.
the first
I
one.
do believe I have the next one.
No, yourself. You're going to speak
about myself.
Yes.
Yes.
So you're going to
Funny
speak.
here.
So we're asking you to do 2 presentations. One, the first one is in English at the beginning now, or your
Right.
second speaker to Charlotte, but yeah, in the earlier part of the program.
And the
And
second
then
one
the
is
last one at the end of the day in Portuguese, because we have a number of ladies
I'm
in
going to have to learn
Brazil.
Portuguese in a couple of hours. I don't speak Portuguese.
What do you speak? Spanish?
I speak
Spanish?
Spanish and English. Yes.
Okay, sorry. Spanish, because we have a number of ladies in Brazil who are interested in the movement. So
Yes.
we just want to give them that. So it could be, if possible, make it on different subjects.
Right.
The English
Okay.
one and the Spanish one. I thought it was
Fantastic.
Spanish, actually. Yeah, the Spanish one.
I feel very unprepared, Ruth.
As a woman, we are always prepared.
Always.
Oh,
It's called Be Ye Oh So Ready.
as a
Yes.
woman, we're always prepared.
You
That
can
is
always say something.
Always
couldn't be more
we
powerful.
always have something to say.
Yes. So my name is Manuela Garcia.
So yes. Thank you, Terry.
I am originally from Spain. I moved to the UK in my early 20s, where I lived with my boyfriend, who became my husband, and my daughter was born. And then we relocated to New Zealand almost 13 years ago. And fortunately, my marriage ended. And then I made the decision to dedicate myself most of my time to help other women to create new lives, to create lives they love, especially after divorce or separation. And that has been my journey over the years. I have encountered multiple challenges, and those challenges have given me the tools, the right tools and the experience to support other women, like so many of us. So what could I share with you? What could I share with you? Ruth, I need a little bit of help this morning. Seriously, I need a little bit of help. I feel a little bit unprepared today.
Okay. You've got so many stories. You can share any of them.
Any of them, such as what? What could we talk about? We could talk about self-care, for example.
Yes, that's relevant.
Yes, we could talk about self-care. One of the things that I've been helping women is to overcome burnout, and there's such a big challenge when we're trying to manage so many things in our lives, from work to our house, our marriages, our kids, our responsibilities. So one of the things that I always say is, please put yourself first. It's not a sign of selfishness. It's a sign of you need to take care of yourself. And yes. And what else?
Okay, Terry, you can bring us back on screen so we can ask her questions, and it might help with her presentation.
Basically, my apologies. I need coffee this morning. I haven't had a coffee yet.
That's okay. That's okay.
Essentially, what I help women is to create a new life, and I help her with some tools after divorce or separation. And when we go through its elements, for example, to allow yourself to grieve, which I think is very important. To any changes that come to your life, you need to honor those changes and reflect on them. So that's one of the aspects. Another one is to create a vision, to see, to visualize, to imagine how your new life is, could look like. That everything is a possibility, right? There's nothing impossible. What else? Sorry.
Am I reading correctly that you have your vision board first and foremost, where you can see it at all times, right? Which is a good way to do it. So let's talk about that.
My vision board. Yes, it's more like a Bible, actually. It's not a vision board as such. It's like a blueprint. It's something that I have developed and I help women develop over the years. It's something very powerful, and it touches different aspects of your life, such as your finances, your social aspect of your life, your friends, your family, your values, your principles. That is so, so important. And for me, something that I've come to realize that it comes from a place of balance. We need to be in balance, and we need to be truth to ourselves. So, for example, one of my principles is to have integrity in everything that I do, right? To come from a place of integrity, to do something, to love myself. These are very powerful values and principles that you need to understand and live by. So yes.
Yeah.
And most of the time we write things in our journal, and then we got to figure out which journal it's in.
However, Terry, one of the biggest challenges that we have. I think we are women. We are fantastic. We are creative. We know very well how to create a vision board, a set. However, one of the biggest challenges is how to manage our emotions and how to manage our beliefs, because the more we move forward, the more we get pushed back by our fears and by our own beliefs. So that's something that we need to work on.
Yeah.
Wow. And during this time of COVID, what are the things that you, when you are talking to these women, that you are really focusing on or stressing on in terms of self-love and self-care?
We try definitely to create new habits, and that's the challenge. It's exciting, but it's a big challenging. And instead of trying to make, it's all about commitment. So I always say to my clients, are you interested in losing weight? Or are you interested in getting a better job? Are you interested in learning a new language? Or are you committed? Because that's the difference.
Yeah.
When you are committed, as Ruth said before, we are powerful, we are unstoppable. That is the difference. And that's the main question. What is your commitment? Are you committed to 20 minutes twice a week, 3 times a week? Okay, let's do that. If you want to go for a walk, if you have stopped being active, so perhaps 20 minutes a couple of times a week, that would make an impact after a couple of weeks, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. If you never learned a language, exactly the same. So it's all about making a commitment and making little changes. And one of the most important thing is to support each other. So find someone that you can talk to, a good friend, anyone, anyone that you can trust. If you don't have that in your environment, then find a coach, find someone that can support you through your journey. I think that's really, really important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, super powerful to be in a group like this with beautiful, powerful women. That is, every woman should be able to find their tribe like this. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's,
Awesome.
it's really wonderful. It gives you, when I leave these talks, it gives you just such a sense of well-being, because it's like, hey, I was hanging with the girls, and you just feel good, It's like we all sort of, you don't even, you can't even explain. You couldn't get me into this like a couple of years ago. But if I'd been in this, it probably would have benefited me a lot, So I think you have to, I don't know, become mature. Is that it? I don't know. I mean, what, to understand that it is a benefit, because I think, if you're sliding a little bit, you don't necessarily, you don't think that a group will help. It's almost like that's the last thing you want. You want, you want to be by yourself or without support. But to realize that we're all human, and to be there, and to support each other it's quite beautiful, I would say.
Yes. Absolutely, and I think you're absolutely right, Sarah. And I think human nature is also to try to fix someone, right? If I see you, if I see you sad, I want to know what is wrong and I want to fix it. And sometimes there's no need for that. It's all we need to do is to reach out and say, Sarah, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here if you need to reach out to support you or to listen to you. Sometimes that's all we need, with no judgment, right?
Absolutely.
And I think COVID has brought us back to that place of human connection, wanting to just sit with somebody who doesn't judge you, people who understand you, people of the same mind, people who support you and will understand what you're going through.
Yeah,
Okay, ladies.
COVID did a really strange thing to the world, didn't it?
It did.
It isolated us and at the same time brought us together. You know, it was for whatever reason the universe did that to everybody and changed our mindset.
It kind of brought us back to our roots, if you think about it. It
Yeah.
put the families back together and, got you back to your roots.
And what your priorities are, because you think life is short. You people were dying around you, and you were hearing it brought death forward to a lot of people that it didn't exist, and then all of a sudden you realize the importance of life.
Yeah.
And living and being there for.
Yes, the values kind of took on a whole new realm, because those that weren't close to their parents and then they lost them, they know that value, and their friends saw it and they're going, oh, maybe I should reconnect with my mother or my father, or maybe I should spend more time with my kids. Yeah, COVID it did have its good points.
Yeah, no, you know what? It happened, and the world, it happened. And what was kind of cool about it was it happened all over the world, not just in one country, but everywhere. So everybody was going through it, and we were all under, lockdown and, crisis, and it wasn't just like one country. So it united the world, really, I think.
Yeah.
In a
I
weird
saw
way.
I saw neighbors that I'd never seen before out walking their babies, and didn't even know they had a baby. I mean, so it affected the whole world.
Yeah, which is quite beautiful. And to have chaos create that, unity is maybe what we needed, and I think that things work in mysterious ways, and you have to roll with it and kind of say, well, okay, this is happening, and there might be a light at the end of the tunnel. Of course there will be, and this is, these are the benefits, I suppose, to
This is one of the lights. This is one of the lights at the end of the tunnel, because during COVID, it gave us an opportunity to find girlfriends all over the world, and that's how I feel about it. I feel like I have lunch with my girlfriends, and I love it. I recently moved to Utah, and I had moved away from the town that I raised my kids in within 2 months after my husband passed away, and I kind of felt very distanced, like I lost all the friends. Well, I moved to Utah, and most of them had moved there, and now once a month 8 of us go out to lunch, and it's like we were never separated. It was 20 years between, and it was like we're never separated. We have such a good time. So
that's wonderful.
That has been really fun. But this gave us something to do during COVID, and a way to communicate and to go past our front door, past our community, past our state, past our, it across borders that I never have imagined that I'd know people. So that's really great. Cher has joined us. Welcome, Cher. Good to have you here today. Cher is my daughter.
Thank you.
And I asked her to come on. I know she's got a really busy schedule, but I asked her to come on and talk to us about some things. Is it okay if we go on and I'll go ahead and introduce her? And she can go ahead and start. Is that good with everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Cher Matchin is, as I said, she's my daughter. And we, as mother and daughter, now are both authors. She just recently published her first book called Why Not Now, and with 30 activities that you could do to bring yourself to a point where you can get to what you need to do. I asked her to come on and share her book with us and to talk about the process of writing it or anything she would like to share with us today. She is a mother of 3 and a stepmother of 4, soon to be a grandmother for the first time, and I'm so excited because that makes me great grandma, and there's no more joy than such. So I would like to introduce Cher Matchin.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, I thought I would tell my story of how I got my book going. It actually goes way back to when my 3 little kids were tiny. I was trying to teach them about the animal families, how there's the cattle and it has the bull and the cow, and then it also has the calf. And it seemed simple, but I couldn't find a book for that. So I thought, I should write a book. So that little thought turned into a dream where I was like, yeah, this is something I want to pursue. I didn't have the money at the time. It was quite expensive to take the little class. So my dad offered and said, hey, I'll pay for it if you want to do this. So my first takeaway today is that be somebody that supports somebody in their dream. I'm also putting 2 of my kids in through college right now, and I help support them, but I've never thought of it like that I'm helping them to dream. They have a dream of what they want to be someday. So my first takeaway, even for myself, was I'm going to say that to them. You know what? I'm helping you fulfill this dream that you have. So that's the first takeaway. My dad said, hey, I'm going to support you in this. He purchased this class that was basically online at the time. This was almost 20 years ago. So we were even doing online things then. Anyways, so I started pursuing it and I started learning and I was enjoying it. And then tragedy happened in our family. And I'm sure you've heard my mom's story. And mine is also the same because it was my dad, but he passed away instantly. And I honestly thought, I'll never do this. I can't do this. And I basically dropped out of the class. I just couldn't take myself to it. I remember at the time I was also working out to music and I thought, I'll never listen to music again. Luckily, you do go on and you do listen to music again and you do try to write again and you do fulfill your dreams again. But at the time, it just seemed so devastating that I just kind of gave up. So, but I didn't stop with that dream. I always thought about it. Raised my children, always had this little tiny notebook that I would jot down thoughts that I had for this book that I wanted to someday do. Always kept that dream. I knew I wanted to be a life coach someday. I was working a full-time job to help support our family. So I really didn't think I had the time to go ahead and stop and, leave the family behind and pursue my dream at that time. So I just kept it in the back of my mind. And I kept writing, like I said, jotting down things. And as time went on, my kids were starting to get grown and I had a little more free time, even though I worked full time. Decided, okay, now it's time to go ahead and pursue the writing and also the life coaching. So I started school while I was also while I was working full time, and had just at that time 1 child at home. So it was not too bad. Anyways, I kept writing, went to school, kept that dream alive, kept pursuing it a bit. So my second takeaway is don't let it die. Even though the timing wasn't right and I felt devastated when my dad passed away and I quit the class, and I didn't have money to start school again, I just kept that dream alive with little tiny things, making little choices each day. So also my third takeaway is do what you can. At the time, all I could do was write in that little notebook. I couldn't go to school. When it was time to go to school, though, you better believe I put my whole heart into it. And there was no way I was quitting this time. So I took some classes, learned how to write as best I can, which was super helpful. And then about 20 years after having that dream to write a book, I actually finished my book. And at first I thought, okay, this is, kind of a collaboration for the length of time, but so many thoughts just flooded into my head of things that I've done, things I've seen people do. I would read books all the time about what I wanted to say and what I wanted to do for this book that I'm writing. I just kept doing what I would call homework, just things at home that I could do. And so the book is done. It's called Why Not Now? I'm going to show it to you. 30 Challenges for a Better You. And it's a lot of life coaching stuff that I've thought about over the years, things I've tried, things I've done, things I'm still working on. But it's things that you can do one a day. So sometimes, if we looked at the big picture of, I want to make my life better, but I got to do all these things. Well, that's not necessarily true. If you just do one little thing, then you're going to be on your road. And you know what? Sooner or later, you're going to be looking back and say, wow, I just made one little choice, one little different thing each day, and look where I'm at today. And I truly feel that way about a lot of things in my life that I thought, no way can I get to the point where I can write a book. But, those little choices every single day is what got me there. So I hope that you'll look at it. Hopefully you'll buy it. It's on Amazon. I'm just super proud of it, which is my next takeaway. When you've done something that you've accomplished, it is such a great feeling. And to celebrate that. Let people around you celebrate you. Be proud of yourself. Realize that you've done this. And just give yourself a pat on the back. I think we're so worried sometimes about being prideful, but also Heavenly Father would be super happy with us that we've accomplished something that we've put our heart to. So that's the fourth takeaway, is celebrate your wins, because there are sometimes we look at all the hard stuff or the things that are not going so right, but celebrate the wins. That's one thing that I've tried to do lately in my life on a daily basis. With now I have, bonus children that I'm raising, and I've got to take the wins, because sometimes I feel like I've not lived up to the par on some of the lessons I'm trying to teach with them. So I got to take the wins and go, you know what, but I'm also doing this okay. So I've got to, look at the positive. So I named it Why Not Now, because at one point I was thinking I would do everything in the future. I was thinking once my youngest was graduated, then I would start school, then I would pursue my own dreams. And I really stopped myself and said, well, why not now? And I had to think about it for a second. Well, why not now? What is my excuse? And so the whole point of the book is do it now. Your life is going on right now. Today is just as important as tomorrow. So do it now and feel good, like, okay, yes, I've accomplished this. I can do this. So the next takeaway that I want to leave with you is keep on going. So I've accomplished this. I feel proud of myself. I'm super excited. My mom and I are going to hopefully do some book tours in this next year. And it's not like I'm going to sell 1 million books and I'm going to be rich off it. I know that. But if one person buys my book and improves their life in one little way, I will be thrilled. And also it's for myself. These are things that I need to use and work on every day. And so I do hope that it does touch people's hearts. And I put some stories. It's a memoir. So there's some funny stories, some awkward stories, some weird stories, some stories people are going to be like, I can't believe she just put that in there. And that's okay too. It's my real life. But, I hope that people will kind of relate to it and find in their own stories changes that they can make. It's also a journal. I feel like it's really important to write down our thoughts, things that are going on in our lives. Sometimes just writing it down makes it feel like it's doable. And so there is spaces for journalizing. If it's something like I've asked you to be grateful, I've asked you to write down some of the things you're grateful for. And so that's why it really is kind of designed to do one a day, if possible. But if it takes you, 30 weeks, that's fine. Do one a week. There's no right or wrong in it. But I do feel like journaling is super important. I do feel like it helps you to clear your mind and sort of just see your thoughts on paper and clarify them to yourself and to God. So I wanted to thank you for the opportunity today to share this. I hope that you'll go out and to look at the book. Hopefully it does make some changes in your life, that you feel confident and feel good about yourself and feel loved. And I thank you for the opportunity. Okay.
A strange noise.
Yeah.
I know. I hope that's not me.
I don't know. It sounds like a washing machine or something.
I don't have anything here, so I hope it's not me.
Okay.
Does anybody have any questions?
I know that feeling of completion. I know I wrote children's books back in the early 2000s, and then in
We're having
2000,
quite the echo today. Right now.
is it gone? The echo?
Let me turn mine off and see if it goes away.
Maybe we should all mute and see who's saying.
You can hear that little noise.
It's
Okay,
not me.
Cher, are you there?
I'm here. It didn't go away when I muted though.
I don't know if it.
No, I was
I'm
just
not
saying
it
that.
now.
Can you hear?
Let's,
Okay, I can you hear what she's saying?
Can you hear
can
what
everyone
I'm-
hear me?
Are we all echoing?
Oh, now, yeah. Am I echoing?
No, you're fine.
No.
No.
Yeah, you sound
Oh,
good.
no, I was just saying that the idea of completion and making yourself feel fulfilled with that. I mean, that can be like a daily thing too. Just completing something daily. Even if it's, you were saying, like I know with the books, with the idea of a project being complete, that is really rewarding. But having small little goals per day can also do that. I find that with just a half an hour of yoga in the morning, when I finish it, I feel like, wow, I have that complete, and that's all I need to do today. If that's the only thing that I can do, to make myself feel like I've completed something, like, but on a larger scale, like the project idea. I know that when I finished my book, my first book, and I got it out, and it came out on Amazon, and that feeling of accomplishment, and to have children responding to it, just there's no greater feeling than having the audience that you're putting it out to, just one child, responding, making you feel like it's like almost like a feeling of completion.
Uh,
Yes.
you know
Yeah. It has
Very
been kind of
fulfilling.
exciting to see. She just launched it last week before last, I believe it was.
Wow.
I couldn't wait to get it, and I got it. I read it all in one day. I thought, okay, I'm going to go back and do all the things, but I wanted to read it all because I knew there were stories in there, and I loved it. So
Nice.
I will.
There's a lot about her in the book.
A little bit, not embarrassing at all, but it just was interesting to see that something I did as a mom affected her, and I sometimes don't realize that. And so it's pretty fun reading it. She's working on our second book, same kind of an idea, but geared towards teenagers, which I think is really, really going to be helpful to people. I live in a house with 3 teenage girls and a couple of boys, and I know those kids can use it. So I'm anxious for her. They're all getting one for Christmas.
There you go. That means I have to get it done before Christmas.
Yeah,
I like that goal.
Okay.
I would like to thank you, Cher, for sharing your story with us, and it's just really so inspiring. We always at least. I'm sure that all of us have at least one book at the back of our heads, right? At least one, right? Based on our own experience. Yes, like sometimes, like oh my goodness, I could talk forever about my life. But yes, I really have to commend you for being so inspiring for so many other women. And one of the takeaways that I love the journaling aspect to it. I think is such a great advice for all of us. Also to celebrate. I think women, we are the worst judges of ourselves, right?
Yeah.
Don't you think? We judge ourselves about everything and anything. I was talking to my daughter yesterday, and I was saying, sometimes it's quite interesting. You see, a beautiful, powerful lady, and I'm the first one to say, look, you're absolutely gorgeous, you're stunning, you embrace yourself, right? But not always is the case. Not always the case. We look at some women and we are the first one to make a judgment about themselves, about ourselves, and I'm wondering why.
Instead of the support that, yeah,
Yeah.
it's like standing at a bus stop and somebody has nice shoes, and
Yes.
I'm the first person to say, I love your shoes.
Yes, I'm the same.
And that person has never heard that before,
Yes.
and it's like,
Exactly.
oh my God, thank you. And then
Yes.
you realize that you made their day, but why not? I mean,
Yeah.
why be
It is-
afraid to
Absolutely.
put that out there? I get it.
But when you come from a place of truth and you are genuine, Sarah, that transpires as well, and people really appreciate that.
Right.
So that's why I really want to celebrate Shay's story and celebrate it here with us, because it's fantastic. And I can't wait to hear more about your second book, Shay.
Thank you.
Yes, I went ahead and put the title of the book and her full name in the chat. So if you all want to check it out.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thank you so much for joining us, Cher.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
That
you,
was
Shay.
beautiful, nice, beautiful.
Okay, Terry, you want to take it from there?
Manuela? Is it Terry or Manuela? I think we can move on with our program.
Okay.
Wonderful. So we have our next guest.
Oh, Terry, you're muted.
Our next guest is Jane de Obro. Shall I introduce her?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Sorry, Manuela. Terry, do you have the video lined up?
I'm sorry, who are you asking?
Terry. Or do you, Manuela, do you have the video lined up?
So, Manuela, are you going to go ahead and do her
Okay.
bio?
Absolutely.
Okay,
I have
great.
the video ready to go.
Wonderful.
Right.
So let me tell you about this beautiful lady, Jane de Obro. She's an award-winning writer, and her website is jane/ne.com. And she's also an owner of Nola Jewels, NOLA, NolaJewels.com, Honolulu County, Hawaii, United States. She's very passionate about making a difference in a fun and exciting way. Starting Nola Jewels is a good start by providing schools lunches for children in developing countries, where for some it may be the only meal that they have that day. Every single purchase goes towards making that difference in a child's life. It makes them happy. And I am happy, not to mention the customer who buys fabulous jewelry and the wear of those jewels. Happy too. So please visit their website. It's www.nolajewels.com. And please, let's see the video.
Hi, Terry. Are you, technical glitch?
For a good part of a dozen years, and nothing worked.
Okay, I am going to stop.
And in the meantime, I would try to forget about it, live my
Okay,
life,
stop it.
and then I would have the
Because
dream
we
again,
can't see
or
it.
something would
We can
remind
hear,
me,
but we can't
write
see.
about
Give
this.
me a
You
minute.
have to write about this. And I would try again, and it wouldn't work. So then I had an accident, and that led to just some complications. I couldn't work well. I had to struggle. I had to really focus on just walking and, dressing and get.
Okay, we are going to try this again. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Let's see. I got to get it right this time. Okay.
Should I play it?
Yes, go ahead and play it because I'm having a little difficulty here.
Okay, so stop sharing the screen.
Sorry about that. Technology works good when it does.
Yeah. You know how it is. Hmm. Why is it telling me that we are processing this video?
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. Let's see.
Okay, let me see. Let me try it one more time, okay?
All right.
Okay. Share.
Technology.
Nope, that didn't work either. Okay. Have I slept many times? If that's what's going on? Let's see. Hmm.
Should we try another video probably?
Yeah, let's move on to. Have you got the other one ready to go?
Let me see. Yes, I do. I
Okay.
think we can um do her bio after this. Let's see.
Okay.
Stream it.
As long as you're ready.
What's happening? Share screen.
Hi, Gertrude. I am so honored to be here. My name is Vasiliki Garmiri, but everybody calls me Fiki from birth, so just call me Fiki. I am logging in from Plano, Texas. That's a little place there. That's at Dallas. Very beautiful days here. But originally, I come from Greece. I immigrated here in 2019. I am going to be 48 years old very soon. And I have a story to share with you that I think is kind of off the beaten track. I like to think of my story as having three parts. The first part of my story goes way back in time, almost 30 years ago, when I set myself in a bead store for the very first time. And I think just my feet just led me there because it was a cold evening in Thessaloniki, Greece. And I was waiting for my girlfriends to come pick me up for coffee, and they were getting ready. So I'm just going into that space because it's getting cold and I need some warmth. And I opened that little door. I will never forget it. And I look around and I see the beads, the yarns, the textiles, the colors, the textures. I was mesmerized. I became a bead collector on the spot. I like to think of a collector as someone who is, getting things in their possession that they won't necessarily use in some way. So, I wanted the beads. I needed to have them. So on the spot, I bought beads, I bought yarn, I bought textiles, I bought tools, not really sure what I would be doing with them, but I knew in my heart that I had to do something with them. And that is how my story started. So I asked, there was an old man running that shop, and I kindly asked him, can you please help me, show me a little bit what I'm supposed to be doing with beads and what I should be using with them. And he showed me a couple of things, so I just bought my first tools on the spot. I taught myself how to work with beads in the basement of my parents. And it went on for so many years. It was very interesting for me. It was something that I was always drawn to. I've always been artistic in my life. I have written poetry. I have tried to sketch, but the beads have always been my bigger love. And also later down the line, I did study jewelry design. And also I had the blessing to learn a lot about this craft from very talented mentors in Greece. I will always have those first years in my parents' basement so close to my heart, because that was when my love for the beads and this craft flourished. Now, beads aside, I was a really smart student. At the time in Greece, if you were a smart student, you would either become a lawyer or a doctor. That was the path. So I never saw this as a way of making money. For me, beading was my art. And I really had this desire in my heart to help people. And since I was such a good student, I started studying to enter med school. And I did. And I became a doctor. Beads were always there by my side. I was doing my beading. I was making my jewelry as a hobby because I was really enjoying it. But in my day life, I was on my path of becoming a doctor and stayed on this path until I became a family physician. And I really, really loved my job. To this day, there are parts of this job that I miss so much because I was always seeking beauty. And in family medicine, I was finding beauty in the human relationship. I really loved my patients. I loved offering to them my best knowledge. And then at night, my beads were waiting for me so that I could create. The second part of my story was when I found the power of your outfit to evoke confidence in you. So it was an afternoon that I got a phone call, and I was invited as a trainee to give a lecture for the first time. And I said, yes. And the moment I said yes was the moment I wanted to take it back. So I visited my uncle, who was the president of the association at the time. And I begged him to spare me of my own decision. Like I told him, please, Bodas, I just cannot do this. I made a mistake. I said, yes, I'm not ready. I just started out. This is not my time. And he said, shh, girl. I will never forget this scene because I was sitting on his black leather couch. And he was like, girl, I'm going to ask you one thing. Who gave you the right to dim your light? And these words have been engraved in my mind ever since. He said, in the Bible, there's this verse, you will not put the light under the table. And you're just about to do that. That voice inside you that said, yes, I want to give that lecture. It is a voice inside you that is calling you to live a bigger dream, to be someone that is bigger, better than you are right now. And why are you dimming that voice? Why are you going back to playing small? No, I'm not going to let you do that. You said yes, and I believe it was the right decision. So you better start getting ready for that lecture because you're so giving it. And I started preparing. I had a month ahead. I prepared a lot. The more I was preparing, the more comfortable I was getting. So here comes the last day before the presentation, and I'm feeling good. And that morning that I was about to give the presentation, I'm waking up and I only have one thought in my head. What am I going to wear? Now, for me, this was interesting because normally I would be more anxious about what I would be saying that night, but I had prepared my lecture so well that I was like, okay, now I want to look the part. So I looked into my closet, I find something, I put it on, I feel good. And I felt, something was missing. And I grabbed my favorite necklace and I put it on. And it was such a feeling I had in that moment. I was like, heck yes, I'm going to rock it. It's going to be so good tonight. I'm going to be so good on stage. I'm going to enjoy it. I want it. My uncle was right. I'm going to rock this. I take this outfit out. I go to work because I had to go to work. I come back. I get ready some hours after that, and I am ready. I'm right on stage, and my computer is in front of me. The projector is there, and I try to open up my computer, and I try to open up the projector, and nothing is working. I got so many life lessons about giving a lecture on that moment. Like, have some notes, email your presentation to yourself, have a second iPad or whatever with you. Well, I didn't have any of that. So, it is that split second that you make decisions. So I step ahead and I open my mouth and I'm really ready to say, I guess today we're not having this lecture and we will have to postpone it. That was what was in my head. And then fleetingly, as I was really ready to say that, my hand touched my necklace and somehow I got grounded back to that feeling of, heck yes, I can do this. I can rock this presentation. So to my own surprise, I'm telling everyone, well, I guess it's going to be by heart tonight. And there are many seasoned physicians in the audience. So if you see that I omitted something or said something wrong, please chime in because it's my first lecture on stage. And I went down and gave my favorite presentation to this day. So in that afternoon, I realized two things. A, that I like so much being on stage. And B, that what you wear, your outfit, can have such an empowering impact on you. I have been raised by a family that has valued a lot what's on the inside. And, my mom, my dad would always be very well presented, but everything that was mostly valued in the family is what's going on the inside. But on that day, I learned that the inside and the outside, they form a unity. And these two come together. So it was really a revelation for me. And all that came from that necklace. And actually what happened right there is called disruption. So I had entered a negative train of thought saying that my technology is not working and I cannot do this because I will have, to to give this lecture by heart. And then the fleeting touch of the necklace grounded me back to another feeling. And that was disruption. So I kept on that revelation, and I kept on that technique, because I use that technique to this day. When I come in front of, in the face of fear, I use disruption in my negative, train of thought. And then the third act, but that revelation was personal. It was with me. I still was a doctor. I was flourishing in my medical career. And the third act of my story, when all this that today is Next Goddess started happening, was when we started discussing immigration with my husband. So years after that first lecture on stage, and after many lectures on stage, I got married and I had 3 beautiful children. My husband is Greek American, and we were staying with my mom and dad-in-law in a small place in Greece called Trika. It's a beautiful place. And my husband was coming back and forth because his job was here in the States. And as a fiscal crisis was deepening in Greece, he started coming in the States more and more. And in the end, he was more in the States than in Greece. And I would see my children watching him pack his bags and burst into tears, because they knew their daddy wouldn't be gone for a week or 2. He would be gone for months. So it was time to have a discussion. I was resisting this discussion for 3 children and 7 years, but there are times when matters are mature and you need to sit down and discuss them. And we felt that it was time to have that discussion seriously. So that was when we started discussing immigration seriously, like something that we should do for the sake of our children and our family. So we decided that. Now, of course, from the moment that you decide you want to immigrate until immigration is fulfilled and you're in another country, especially when this country is the United States of America, this takes a lot of time. So it took time until I did my papers with the embassy, and that was a blessing, because in that time, I had time for myself to sit down and talk with myself and ask myself questions like, okay, I'm leaving behind my friends, my family, my life as I knew it. How about my career and all that I have built? So I came at the crossroads. Do I go down the medical path again? Do I do something that is around the medical field, maybe not medicine itself? Or do I do something else? Now, as a person, I like taking informed decisions, and I am not a very big risk taker. So I wanted to make sure that I was making a decision that would serve me well, at least in my present. So I took courses on career change. I took personality tests. I was seeking for an answer. What do I become? What's my life going to be in this new country? And it was interesting, because instead of an answer, I found 2 questions. And the first of them was what really shook me up. And they were in a course about career change. And I was asked, if you were to die tomorrow, what is that one dream that you have never given a chance to flourish in your life that you will deeply regret? And that really shook me up, because I realized that I had seen my medical dream come to fruition in so many ways. I have reached heights that I would never even imagine. But in the back of my head, I had this dream of a little beach shop, and I also had an age in my mind at the age of 67. That's the age when you retire from the national healthcare sector in Greece. So I was like, at the age of 67, I have this dream that I will get my pension and I will have that money and I can open up a little bead shop and share my art with the world. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a dream that you have not given a chance.
We're having a technical problem there, ladies. Vicky?
I can hear you, but I can see myself.
Okay, so Vicky is now here. You need to remove the video and Vicky can take over, ladies. Ruth, are you there?
I am
Let
not.
me,
For
let
some
me
reason, I cannot
remove
hear you very well.
Ruth.
Ruth is the one that shared her screen.
All right, there we go.
Okay.
Now, Vicky, we were having issues with your video there.
Okay.
And now that you're here, I think, Terry, the best thing would be to just bring the panel on and we can do a Q&A.
The question is, can you hear me? Because I can hardly hear you. There's so much noise outside and I cannot hear you.
We can hear you clearly.
Oh my God. But I can't hear what you are saying. That's a thing. And I'm trying to enter through my laptop and for some reason Facebook is crashing. It won't even see Facebook.
Oh, so you need the link? Let me email you the link so you can go in on your computer perhaps.
Could you please email me the link so that I can log out on my computer? Where I mean, I can see you because I cannot hear
It's crazy.
Oh, it's funny.
Ladies, can I ask you to mute yourselves for a minute? All mute yourselves so that Vicky can hear me. Oops, she's dropped out. Okay, I will email her the link quickly. Welcome, Dr. Tanya. Manuela, we have another guest.
Can you hear me?
You might want to get Tanya to switch on her video and say hi. She is part of the community. She's spoken before. She can give us a quick update where she is, what she's up to while I sort out Vicky.
Okay. I do believe Dr. Tanya is where the echo is coming. Dr. Tanya, if you can hear us, you have more than one device open.
Okay.
Please close one. Okay, now Dr. Tanya.
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, we can hear you, but we're getting some feedback. Do you more than one
All right,
it's open?
Okay.
In StreamYard, you have to turn one of those off. Okay, she turned off the wrong one. Okay, she must have turned off everything. Okay, well, we can move on with Tanya. Okay, there she is.
Can you hear and see me?
I've got you now. Okay.
Okay, well, I'm having to use my cell phone.
Okay, yeah, we needed to turn off one of those, and I am Terry from the U.S. So
okay, Terry.
we're waiting on Tanya. Manuela, you want to take the lead, please?
Hi. Hi, Dr. Tanya. Shall we read her bio? We ask questions.
So
We
Dr. Tanya is jumping
Yes.
on to be part of the panel with you ladies today. She's spoken on the Her Story circuit before.
Wonderful.
Maybe Tanya could give us an update, what has been happening in your life since we last connected. It's been a while. Wonderful to have you back.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to be back, Gertrude, and I'm hoping everything is going to be working fine, all of these technical things. Since I last was on, I got the last part of your last panelist's video or talk, and I just wanted to make a comment about that. She was talking about, at her health service, they retire at 67. And I wanted to let her know that life does not end after you retire. I was in academia, and I actually have been more active since I left teaching residents and doing leadership stuff up to the national and international level. So I recently have been periodically, I work on Native reservations because the COVID epidemic has hit them so hard and they can't get doctors. And I've, of course, done my research internationally since I was in academia. So I found a way that I could protect myself and go there. I am 77, by the way, so 67 is not the end. In fact, in many ways, it's the beginning, because you come out of being locked into whether it's a health service or clinic or academia anyway. So then you have the freedom to do what you want to do. And my most recent project that is in progress now is I wrote a book really 10 years ago called Revolutionary Healing, but I didn't like it because it was too academic. I wanted to write something for the general public, because here in the United States and in many other countries, the healthcare system is just so broken and fractured that it really needs a total overhaul. So that's what Revolutionary Healing was initially about. But I left out all personal information. I mean, I'm a very private person. However, I'm going to share with you all right now the information that I left out was that, for the last 20 years, I found out that I had very strong intuitive ability, and also am a medium, and have had what others would call paranormal experiences. In terms of how does that relate to medicine, I think a turning point for me was when I was in Peru with a group in Machu Picchu. And that's way up in the Andes. And for those of you who are not familiar with it, and at that time, I literally fell off a cliff, went into a white light, should have broken every bone in my body, but I landed with not a scratch. And then later that night, the group I was with was going to a sort of a shaman ceremony type thing. And so the shaman person was doing all of the things. I recognized some sounds that he made that I'd had in dreams 10 years before this. And after the ceremony was over, I was just amazed I was alive. And there was a shaman sitting in the back of the room who motioned me to come outside. And I'm not sharing this anywhere yet, except I will in the book. And the shaman made the sign what I thought was infinity. He asked me did I know what it was, and I said, "Oh, it's infinity." And he said, "No, it's not. It's completion. You did well." He had actually joined or seen me go over that cliff, and that later on I found out was completion of something from a past life. So of course, later I went on to learn more about that. But during that same trip, we were going into Bolivia to be in this catamaran overnight in the middle of Lake Titicaca. And this is a continuation. I was still amazed I was alive, but before we got to Lake Titicaca, the night before we were going, there was a little girl with, she was probably 4 or 5 at the most, probably 3 or 4, traveling with us, and she'd been getting dehydrated on the trip all the time. And so in the middle of the night, before we were supposed to go to Lake Titicaca, her mother called, and the place was it was an internal thing there because there was no cell phone coverage. Anyway, she asked, was it normal for a child's eyes to fall on the back of their head? And I'm thinking to myself, hell no, no. And there's no doctors, there's no cell phone. I had nothing with me, so I went up to look at her. The little girl was literally on her way out. She was dying. And so I have always believed that what one person can do, all of us can do if we access in that other 80% or 90% of the brain that they say is not being used. That's another thing altogether, which I explain in the book. It is used or can be used. Anyway, so I decided to, I said, I'm stronger than this little girl is, so I'll suck out of her whatever's in her into me. Well, guess what? I was very successful. I got sicker than I've ever been. They kind of all had to help me. I was kind of a blur how I got into the bus, went across the border in Bolivia. They didn't even make me get off the bus, although everyone else had to, and they searched the bus, etc. So we got to Lake Titicaca. I just remember two people helping me get on the catamaran, and I still couldn't do anything. In the middle of the night, all of a sudden everything just cleared. And I later found out something's supposed to be there under Lake Titicaca. But at any rate, I was just amazed. And the only thing that remained was I had a craving for a beer, and I don't even drink beer. It was very weird. So later on, I came back and did a little more investigation about some of Peru's history, some of the Andean and the native traditions. And I found out, and then I also had a vision. As I said, I am very psychic, and I had and a medium, and I had this vision, and I saw what I didn't do in my past life that I did in Machu Picchu. Now, mind you, I had always known I would go to that place, even as a child, whenever I saw a picture of it, but I didn't know what it was at the time. And it's another story of how I ended up going there at all. But I wanted to get back to the little girl because I was just contacted this month by the little girl's parents, and she's graduating from high school. Of course, I didn't know what happened after I tried to suck in this, whatever it was in her out, and I got sick. But she obviously recovered, and she knows, they feel that I was responsible for saving her life. So she's graduating this month, and they live in Florida, and they want me to come because she wants to meet me because I guess they've told her I saved her life. Well, wow. I mean, it was like, wow, that's really very interesting because I never knew the other side of the story once I got sick. Now, what that did for me as a physician, and of course, I went up to the top in leadership with the American Academy of Family Physicians, headed their Commission on Legislation, Governmental Affairs, done a lot of stuff, even internationally speaking. But what that did for me is I decided to change the book Revolutionary Healing because I, first of all, left out any experiences like that I have had, and I've had more than it's too much time to share now. But I felt like, okay, I need to start putting some of this in because I have such, quote, impeccable credentials in terms of degrees and experience and consultation, all that kind of stuff, that no one can call me a woo-woo doctor if I start sharing that there are so much that we don't know about healing. For those of you who are here, I will just share with this little small group that I had to walk my talk. Once I got back from Peru, and I said to myself, I never want to get that sick again and don't even know what it is. I took a course from a woman, her name was Consuela Newton. She was my teacher when I was getting scared about, I didn't know what these medium and all these experiences were that were occurring 20 years ago. So I took her last class. She's no longer with us, but learned how to harness intuitive ability. And she taught me what's called integrative awareness. Now, we all have intuition, but some of us have more than others, just like some people are natural athletes. I was always the last person chosen in school to be on any kind of team because I just don't have that ability. So each of us has some intuition, but some it can run in families too, and some have more than others. So anyway, I talked to her when I got back from Peru. She taught a course called Soma Pi, and that was a way in which you can, it's an energetic healing process. So, and the other thing that she taught me was something called integrative awareness. And that's where you can bring up your intuitive ability and analytical ability at will. And you know, my story is very interesting, my total life. And so it would be amazing to know how I even got up so high. I'm sure now I was using my abilities, the intuitive abilities, unconsciously all along, because I was on my own at 17. At any rate, I learned the healing technique called Soma Pi from her. And I'm just mentioning this because I later on had to use it on myself. When Western doctors wanted to have me, I have a transplant on my cornea. Short story was that I got a bacteria from some research project I was going on. It had eaten through half of my cornea, and before I could even get to the ER. And then, of course, the on-call ophthalmologist came in, and my gut said I should stay with him, but he was, I guess, nervous because I was a doctor. So he wanted to refer me to this corneal specialist, who I knew immediately was an egomaniac, but I was scared I was going to lose my eye. The bacteria was eating through so fast, and so he slapped something in my eye, and it didn't feel like it was in right, and he said it was in right. Of course, it fell out, and whatever he had slapped in was experimental, which I didn't know at the time, and it then ate through 98% of my cornea. So then, of course, Western medicine wanted to fly in a corneal implant for me. Well, this is getting back to how I learned a different kind of healing and expanded what is my knowledge of what's possible. That's how it relates to the little girl. But at any rate, so I said, no, you had your chance. I was not about to get a transplant when I knew enough medicine since I was academic. I had recommended something be done, which they refused to do because I did my research on India and other places where they have really bad problems with ulcers in the cornea. So anyway, since Western medicine wouldn't do it, all in big wheels and ophthalmology in the Western region wanted me to do this transplant. I said, no. Okay. So I then had to use what I had learned from my teacher, Consuela Newton, the energetic healing, Soma Pi, coupled with Western medicine, the things that Western medicine did not want to use with my eye. And long and short of it is that what they said could not happen, that you cannot generate your cornea, especially with 98% gone. I did regenerate it. It took me 9 months, almost like a baby, to do it. And there were some other things I did. A couple of people I knew who knew how to do Soma Pi helped me. A lot of prayer. I also believe in that in terms of, and we're getting more research on how that does actually help you. It does work. And this is too complicated to tell you about how it works. But anyway, bottom line is that was a turning point for me in my medical history, which is why, my academic and my physician history, because I realized, okay, I'm not going to be a part only of this system that uses pills and surgery and in some ways works against your natural healing ability. I'm going to try to write a book. Not try, I'm going to write a book. I have to include my personal experiences in this to illustrate what is possible when we are ill, what causes us to get ill, and what other dimensions are about, and what we call guardian angels, ancestors, help from other realms, what that's about. And so I don't even care if I'm called a woo-woo doctor anymore, because I know I fooled a lot of people if I am. going up to the top of organized medicine. And also, we're at a stage now in the whole world where it's very important that we use our intuition. Don't make it a second choice. It needs to be checked with when any kind of major decision is being made. Even simple things like picking a piece of fruit, you can use it once you start getting into that zone. But bottom line is, we have so much misinformation going on through internet and news and etc., that we have to learn how to tune into our own intuition and strengthen our reliance on it. I'm not saying you don't do your analytical part, because as I said, I was taught a process called integrative awareness, where you can bring up the intuitive information and your analytical information that you've learned from school and your parents and your culture and what have you. So there's so much more to healing and being alive and making decisions, and ultimately generating a large enough group of people who can start talking about and practicing and modeling how a fully conscious, or how a highly conscious person is able to work and walk through this world. Now, as I said, that was a real major turning point for me I call myself now a healer. I put physician down because it gives credibility. I put that first, but then I put intuitive, and then I put down psychologist, and I put the other kind of degrees and things that I have behind my name. But the bottom line is, for me, healer is more of a description of what I feel I am now. It's a healer I have physician credentials and training as part of that. But I think that all of us, I amazed myself being able to regenerate my cornea, and I was scared, but I had a couple of people who were holding me together so that I could regenerate my cornea. And then once I did that, I guess that was a necessary part of my path. My belief is that we are all on paths. We have all been given gifts, and we have all, I call it an assignment, during this very transformation period that we are as human species, as well as inhabitants of the earth. We are not the only beings that are in this galaxy, or what we call our universe. I have actually had some contacts. This is why I didn't want to go public with a lot of that sort of thing, because I realize now that all of the training that I have and the experiences that I've had were actually preparing me for this point in time, where I can be, I call it a cosmic catalyst. And that means I can model certain things. I can actually relate the experiences that are documented that I've had, many of them, not all, but, and then I can encourage people to use that, whether it's in their personal life, in their family, in their workplace, in governmental agencies, in corporations, because when you start using your intuitive ability along with your analytic ability and education and your understanding of some of what your culture has programmed you for, you are able to kind of what I call evolve your level of consciousness, which if we have enough people doing that, we may be able to change this trajectory we seem to have now of resorting to war, conflict, reservations. Resolutions seem to always be a blame game, or he said, she said, or gets violent. And we can't survive as a species if we continue this way. So my goal is to start helping spread this word, as well as finish my book. And Gertrude, in answering your first question, my most recent thing is, I call it my guides, etc. You have unseen help at all times. Series of synchronicities have happened. Number one, I have to make the decision whether to go to the graduation of the little girl who I evidently saved. but also I have been introduced to the possibility of talking with a producer about developing in some way. It could be a documentary, it could be TV series, it could be a lot of different things, ways so that I can spread this medicine, not this medicine, but it is a medicine, it's emotional, physical medicine. If we can spread this word of how we can actually enhance our own ability to heal as well as stay well, and our ability to make a difference in the way we are going as a global community. And there's a possibility of actually having something that will facilitate that. So that's what I'm most excited about right now, because it's much faster than just getting a book out there. So that's who I am, that's where I am, and I'm happy to be here with other women who are sharing their experiences, because I do believe the health and the survival of the human species it's going to have to do with women stepping up to the plate and using their strengths in whatever area it is, so that we start basing how we live as human beings more on collaboration and compassion and integrity and kindness, and a healthy way of approaching wellness that does not depend so much on just pills and surgery. And we learn how to resist what I call Western curses. A lot of times, doctors say, well, you got 5 months to live, and people live 3 or 4 years after that. Well, there are other people who die right away because we've taken away their hope and their ability. So we've got to do things differently. I'm going to do my part, and I hope each of you listening are going to be able to think about this and do yours. That's all I have to say right now. Am I supposed to be talking more? Hello? I don't know whether you all heard all that, because my cell phone has been acting crazy, and so has my laptop. By the way, that's a downside of having intuitive abilities. Your energy level is so high that it affects technical stuff.
We heard you.
We heard you clearly. Thank you so much. It was really, really inspiring, really, really inspiring, and it resonated. Your story resonates with me. I am a healer as well. And
yes.
I practice Reiki, but something that I've seen more often than not, one of my good friends, and he's a very spiritual man. He's a Reiki teacher. I'm a Reiki master. He's an anesthetist. And
he's a what?
An anesthetist. He works at a hospital, right? Which you would think there's a little bit of conflict here. However, you see this man practicing, because he's energy healing before a session, before an operation. And more often than not, he says that you see surgeons, doctors coming to him, asking him for some Reiki. So things are changing. We are expanding our intuition, our consciousness, and I think that's really beautiful. And I think your message is spot on. You have so many things that we can resonate. It's just fantastic. A wonderful, powerful message. Sorry, Dr. Tanya, I think you are muted. I'm trying to unmute you. You seems to be muted. Dr. Tanya, can you are muted. I'm trying to unmute you, but it's not working.
That's because I've got it. It was muted. It's muted on mine. Again, I didn't do that. That's my energy did that.
Very powerful energy indeed.
It's fun once you get used to it, and it doesn't scare you. I mean, really, when I first started out, I was having experiences that kind of scared me. I thought, I'm not crazy, but I don't know what this is, But once we start being comfortable with the fact that we just have so much help around us, we are never alone, and you don't have to be a religious person to embrace that. So I'm really happy to hear that your friend is using that, because that's how I found out. I was wondering, well, how come people are getting better and I haven't done anything yet? But I was doing things, I just didn't know it.
Absolutely. There is a fear of judgment, right? There's always a fear of judgment. But with the
Yeah.
years, I've managed to overcome that myself. So
Yeah.
I don't hide. I'm open to conversation. Sometimes I'm like, I cannot explain things.
Yeah.
I can tell you how things work for me and how I use those tools and what I feel and how things change around me. But obviously, it comes down to how open you are to accept or to bring things into your life, right?
Right. And I'm so, you're ahead of me in terms of going, I call it going public with talking about a lot of this stuff, because I had not done that except when I was teaching residents in between patients. I would do tarot readings. By the way, I got that message. I didn't even know what tarot was. It came clairaudiently to me. That means, for those of you who don't know what clairaudience is, you actually hear a voice. You're not schizophrenic, but you can hear the voice. And the voice just said tarot, and then showed me a scene. And it showed me a scene of two women at a table, and one had dark hair and dark complexion, the other was blonde and long blonde hair. And it turned out the very next day I had some meeting I went to, and then I thought, oh, I want some Thai food. So there was a Thai restaurant nearby. I went to the Thai restaurant, and there was a New Age store right next door. So I said, oh, I'll get some incense. I walked in there and saw the exact scene that I'd seen I called it a dream at that point. And so there was a tarot reading. It didn't feel, like I said, I think I've done my whole life about feeling how things feel rather than making it always an intellectual decision. Didn't feel like I was supposed to get a reading. So I went and got a little cheap deck, and I started seeing what it was, and then I put it through the scientific method, and then I got different cultures, and I would do different things. And so later on, while I was still a professor, in between patients, I would do readings for the residents.
Oh, I love that.
And they would come back and say, wow, you're right.
Yeah, I do have a friend who works in a bank, and I talked to her recently. We do Reiki together. We gather once a month, and we have like an open group. We do meditation, Reiki, healing. It's just really beautiful. And and she shared with me she has some cards at work, some angel cards, and they're just beautiful. They have beautiful messages. And again, it's something that you will never expect anyone to have in a corporate environment, because it comes with judgment and it comes with prejudice, etc. And she's like,
right.
Come, can you do a quick reading for me?
I get that all the time too.
Yes, so I think it comes down to, look, intuition. We've always been intuitive. It's part of who we are, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So, yes, we need to embrace it more than ever, because it's one of our superpowers. And
absolutely.
Yes. So beautiful.
Yeah. And I think that if we all just sort of paid attention, we always, most people are familiar with, if you're on a test or something, your first answer is usually better than reconsidering and doing the second one. Well, that's your intuition. You have access to information. In fact, I'll share this quickly. One of the reasons I think I made it into medical school, because I went later. I was a psychologist and was teaching in college and stuff, and I went back to medical school at age 31. But any rate, there was one horrible teacher there who just seemed to flunk everybody out of their first year. I shouldn't say, I don't remember the name. She taught histology. And so I actually started medical school with a 3-week-old baby and a 2-year-old. So that's not the best way to start out, especially when they decide to cram the first 2 years into one as an experiment. But anyway, I studied histology on my own. And I was looking at slides and things while I was recovering from a C-section in the hospital even. And I took the test, and there was something on there I had never seen before. And I didn't even know what it was. And so again, this was before I knew I was an intuitive. I don't know if I heard it or something, but I wrote down the word tongue. And I'd never seen a tongue on a slide before. And guess what? I passed that proficiency test by 1 point. If I hadn't got that tongue, I would have had to take that course from that lady who was really notorious. And I probably would have flunked out because, you know, there were a lot of people who had breakdowns and stuff when they crammed those 2 years together. And so if I'd had to study histology, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have made it through that year. So I got the intuitive knowledge from somewhere.
Do we have any questions? Do we have any questions from the panel for Dr. Tanya before we move on?
I would like to just add something to what Tanya said. How, as women, we really have to trust our intuition. I have a recent incident where I was involved with a company in Melbourne, Australia, and I was working in their offices. They were supposed to help me raise the $1 million I'm trying to raise for the movement. And I started getting ill working in this space. My anxiety levels came back, and I just kept thinking something is off. I could smell it. I felt it with every cell in my body. And I walked away from this $1 million deal about a month ago. I just told them something didn't feel right and I needed to leave their premises. About 3 weeks later, after I left, a fraud case came out. It's all over the news now. It's all over social media. The man who ran this company has some cases against him to do with fraud. And they were wanting me to help them raise money for this organization and make me a part of the organization. And when I left, it made no sense. They were paying for my rent. I didn't even have money for rent that month. But the feeling was so strong. I was getting physically ill going into the office. And so you're right, Tanya, we all have these gifts, but we have to trust them. We have to use them, because the more you use it, the stronger that intuition gets.
Right. It's like
The
a muscle.
stronger it gets, the more you use it. And it's like a muscle. So I just had to jump in and put in my 2 cents worth. My voice came back just for that.
Thank you so much, Gertrude and Dr. Tanya. Shall we continue? What shall we do now? Shall we continue with our agenda, with our schedule?
Vicky is on, and
yeah, I think we'll replay Vicky's video, and then we'll do a Q&A with her since she's here with us. It'd be nice to just show the whole video, then do a Q&A with Vicky. Wonderful to have you with us, Vicky.
You've got the video.
Completely intuitive. I mean, sometimes I know I am. I get these, I don't know why, of all the days, of all the times of possible days, it was today, at this hour, that I thought, like, maybe I should ask Gertrude, when is that going to play so that I can share with my mom?
So Vicky didn't know we're playing her video today. And she just sent a message on Facebook. I sent her the link, and here she is. So she's another intuitive right here. Wonderful to have you, Vicky. So I'll play the video now, and then we'll do our Q&A session with you.
Okay, Jerry, do you have we have
Hi, Gertrude. I am so honored to be here. My name is Vasiliki Garmiri, but everybody calls me Vicky from birth, so just call me Vicky. I am logging in from Plano, Texas. That's a little place right outside Dallas. It's a very beautiful place here. But originally, I come from Greece. I immigrated here in 2019. I am going to be 48 years old very soon. And I have a story to share with you that I think is kind of off the beaten track. I like to think of my story as having 3 parts. The first part of my story goes way back in time, almost 30 years ago, when I set myself in a bead store for the very first time. And I think just my feet just led me there, because it was a cold evening in Thessaloniki, Greece. And I was waiting for my girlfriends to come pick me up for coffee, and they were kind of late. So I'm just going into that space because it's getting cold and I need some warmth. And I opened that little door. I will never forget it. And I look around and I see the beads, the yarns, the textiles, the colors, the textures. I was mesmerized. I became a bead collector on the spot. I like to think of a collector as someone who is, getting things in their possession that they won't necessarily use in some way. So, I wanted the beads. I needed to have them. So on the spot, I bought beads, I bought yarn, I bought textiles, I bought tools, not really sure what I would be doing with them, but I knew in my heart that I had to do something with them. And that is how my story started. So I asked, there was an old man running that shop, and I kindly asked him, can you please help me, show me a little bit what I'm supposed to be doing with beads and what I should be using with them. And he showed me a couple of things. So I just bought my first tools on the spot. I taught myself how to work with beads in the basement of my parents. And it went on for so many years. It was very interesting for me. It was something that I was always drawn to. I've always been artistic in my life. I have written poetry. I have tried to sketch, but the beads have always been my bigger love. And although later down the line, I did study jewelry design, and also I had the blessing to learn a lot about this craft from very talented mentors in Greece. I will always have those first years in my parents' basement so close to my heart, because that was when my love for the beads and this craft flourished. Now, beads aside, I was a really smart student. At the time in Greece, if you were a smart student, you would either become a lawyer or a doctor. That was the path. So I never saw this as a way of making money. For me, beading was my art. And I really had this desire in my heart to help people. And since I was such a good student, I started studying to enter med school. And I did. And I became a doctor. Beads were always there by my side. I was doing my beading. I was making my jewelry as a hobby because I was really enjoying it. But in my day life, I was on my path of becoming a doctor and stayed on this path until I became a family physician. And I really, really loved my job. To this day, there are parts of this job that I miss so much, because I was always seeking beauty. And in family medicine, I was finding beauty in the human relationship. I really loved my patients. I loved offering to them my best knowledge. And then at night, my beads were waiting for me so that I could create. The second part of my story was when I found the power of your outfit to evoke confidence in you. So it was an afternoon that I got a phone call, and I was invited as a trainee to give a lecture for the first time. And I said, yes. And the moment I said yes was the moment I wanted to take it back. So I visited my uncle, who was the president of the association at the time. And I begged him to spare me of my own decision. Like, I told him, please, Bodas, I just cannot do this. I made a mistake. I said, yes, I'm not ready. I just started out. This is not my time. And he said, shh, girl. I will never forget this scene, because I was sitting on his black leather couch. And he was like, girl, I'm going to ask you one thing. Who gave you the right to dim your light? And these words have been engraved in my mind ever since. He said, in the Bible, there's this verse. you will not put the light under the table. And you're just about to do that. You know, that voice inside you that said, yes, I want to give that lecture. It is a voice inside you that is calling you to live a bigger dream, to be someone that is bigger, better than you are right now. And why are you dimming that voice? Why are you going back to playing small? No, I'm not going to let you do that. You said yes, and I believe it was the right decision. So you better start getting ready for that lecture because you're so giving it. And I started preparing. I had a month ahead. I prepared a lot. The more I was preparing, the more comfortable I was getting. So here comes the last day before the presentation, and I'm feeling good. And that morning that I was about to give the presentation, I'm waking up and I only have one thought in my head. What am I gonna wear? Now, for me, this was interesting because normally I would be more anxious about what I would be saying that night, but I had prepared my lecture so well that I was like, okay, now I want to look the part. So I looked into my closet, I find something, I put it on, I feel good. And I felt, something was missing. And I grabbed my favorite necklace and I put it on. And it was such a feeling I had in that moment. I was like, heck yes, I'm gonna rock it. It's gonna be so good tonight. I'm gonna be so good on stage. I'm gonna enjoy it. I want it. My uncle was right. I'm gonna rock this. I take this outfit out. I go to work because I had to go to work. I come back, I get ready some hours after that, and I am ready. I'm right on stage, and my computer is in front of me. The projector is there, and I try to open up my computer, and I try to open up the projector, and nothing is working. I got so many life lessons about giving a lecture on that moment. Like, have some notes, email your presentation to yourself, have a second iPad or whatever with you. Well, I didn't have any of that. So, it is that split second that you make decisions. So I step ahead and I open my mouth and I'm really ready to say, I guess today we're not having this lecture and we will have to postpone it. That was what was in my head. And then fleetingly, as I was really ready to say that, my hand touched my necklace and somehow I got grounded back to that feeling of, heck yes, I can do this. I can rock this presentation. So to my own surprise, I'm telling everyone, well, I guess it's going to be by heart tonight. And there are many seasoned physicians in the audience. So if you see that I omitted something or said something wrong, please chime in because it's my first lecture on stage. And I went down and gave my favorite presentation to this day. So in that afternoon, I realized two things. A, that I like so much being on stage. And B, that what you wear, your outfit, can have such an empowering impact on you. I have been raised by a family that has valued a lot what's on the inside. And, my mom, my dad would always be very well presented, but everything that was mostly valued in the family is what's going on the inside. But on that day, I learned that the inside and the outside, they form a unity. And these two come together. So it was really a revelation for me. And all that came from that necklace. And actually what happened right there is called disruption. So I had entered a negative train of thought saying that my technology is not working and I cannot do this because I will have, to give this lecture by heart. And then the fleeting touch of the necklace grounded me back to another feeling. And that was disruption. So I kept on that revelation and I kept on that technique because I use that technique to this day. When I come in the face of fear, I use disruption in my negative, train of thought. And then the third act, but that revelation was personal. It was with me. I still was a doctor. I was flourishing in my medical career. And the third act of my story, when all this that today is Next Goddess started happening, was when we started discussing immigration with my husband. So years after that first lecture on stage, and after many lectures on stage, I got married and I had 3 beautiful children. My husband is Greek American, and we were staying with my mom and dad-in-law in a small place in Greece called Trikala. It's a beautiful place. And my husband was coming back and forth because his job was here in the States. And as a fiscal crisis was deepening in Greece, he started coming in the States more and more. And in the end, he was more in the States than in Greece. And I would see my children watching him pack his bags and burst into tears because they knew their daddy wouldn't be gone for a week or two. He would be gone for months. So it was time to have a discussion. I was resisting this discussion for 3 children and 7 years, but there are times when matters are mature and you need to sit down and discuss them. And we felt that it was time to have that discussion seriously. So that was when we started discussing immigration seriously, like something that we should do for the sake of our children and our family. So we decided that. Now, of course, from the moment that you decide you want to immigrate until immigration is fulfilled and you're in another country, especially when this country is the United States of America, this takes a lot of time. So it took time until I did my papers with the embassy, and that was a blessing because in that time, I had time for myself to sit down and talk with myself and ask myself questions like, okay, I'm leaving behind my friends, my family, my life as I knew it. How about my career and all that I have built? So I came at the crossroads. Do I go down the medical path again? Do I do something that is around the medical field, maybe not medicine itself? Or do I do something else? Now, as a person, I like taking informed decisions, and I am not a very big risk taker. So I wanted to make sure that I was making a decision that would serve me well, at least in my present. So I took courses on career change. I took personality tests. I was seeking for an answer. What do I become? What's my life going to be in this new country? And it was interesting because instead of an answer, I found 2 questions. And the first of them was what really shook me up. And they were in a course about career change. And I was asked, if you were to die tomorrow, what is that one dream that you have never given a chance to flourish in your life that you will deeply regret? And that really shook me up because I realized that I had seen my medical dream come to fruition in so many ways. I have reached heights that I would never even imagine. But in the back of my head, I had this dream of a little bead shop. And I also had an age in my mind at the age of 67. That's the age when you retire from the national healthcare sector in Greece. So I was like, at the age of 67, I have this dream that I will get my pension and I will have that money and I can open up a little bead shop and share my art with the world. And I'm like, oh my God, this is a dream that you have not given a chance to. And maybe now is the time to do it. Maybe now before 67, because who knows what tomorrow brings. And this planted the idea in my head. This is where everything began. There was a second question that I'd like to share with you. So the second question was, I swear it was a really upbeat course. despite the fact that these two questions are really serious and deep. So the second question was, when you die, what is your tombstone gonna write? What's your legacy gonna be in this world? And I had some really deep thinking. And it was not like I took a decision on the spot that, hey, yes, I'm leaving medicine and I'm doing this. It took me a lot of time, a lot of back and forth. And I took the final decision on the plane of immigration on that long flight. I decided that I want to give this dream a chance. And because we were coming here and I wouldn't be having any help with raising my babies, I couldn't do everything. I couldn't have my jewelry and medicine. So I decided that I want to give it a chance. And there was a lot of, my mom, my dad were worried about me. They are still worried to this day. And I had to answer questions like, what if this doesn't work out? And I think that they are relieved with the answer that I gave them, that I really don't believe there are burnt bridges until you burn them. So I told them, if I want to go back, it may take a longer road, but I can go back. And if I'm not happy, I will go back. But this is just what I want to do right now in my life. I feel a calling to do this, and I need to do it. And then that happened in 2019. It took a long time until we had our first outlet online, because in this business we are together with my husband. He helps me a lot.
Wow. Your story is amazing. There's so many parallels to what you've done and what I've done in my life. So you remember when I was talking to you before we started the interview, I never prepare people for these interviews because people go in their heads and they don't drop into their hearts to tell their stories. What happened to you happened to me in Mexico City. I was hired as a keynote speaker at a conference, got there, the PowerPoint and the computer weren't working. And it was the one day when I delivered the best speech I ever gave, because it just came from inside of me. It really came from my heart. So that is just an amazing parallel to both of our stories. But this collection has got so many layers to it. You talked about how touching the piece anchored you back to that feeling. A lot of people don't realize that these small little things we do when we dress up actually empower us in some ways. Even just the color that you're wearing on any given day can give you courage. My power color is red. If I'm going for a job interview, if I'm doing something really important, I'll wear a red jacket or a red dress. So tell me about how you use color when you create your goddess.
So for me, color is both an inspiration and a way, like you, to tap into the feeling that I want to tap into. The inspiration. So, I was raised in Greece. I was raised in color, sunshine, blue, the sky, everything. Also the beads that are an inspiration on their own. It's not just their forms and shapes, it's also their colors that inspire me. And then I use color like you when I want to evoke feelings in myself. I love red. I love a red lip. It's like, for me, it's also my power move, but I kind of love every color. I think I just wake up every day and I feel like wearing a color. Blue is always a favorite of mine, probably because it anchors me back to Greece and all the memories that I have from there. But I think also every color under the rainbow has a meaning for someone. It is dopamine dressing is a thing. It has been proven that, like, I don't know if you've heard, like, if when they paint the boys' rooms like blue and the girls' rooms pink. That thing has, those colors have an effect on our psychology. Like in the kitchens, you see a lot of orange because that is supposed to be awakening your desire to eat. And then if you have blue in the kitchen, you don't want to eat so much. So color does this, but I also do believe that the things that you wear always have the meaning that you attach to them. So for me, like amulets, objects of faith, they have the meaning that we give them. And
Yes.
I really love to tap. For me, it's a thing. I tap into them. And I'm a Christian. I tap into my cross. We have our little goddess tag on our bracelets, and for me, that's a reminder, visual, tactile reminder of the goddess within. So I like that. I was raised in this. The evil eyes. I was raised in this. But this is our culture. I understand that not every culture is like that, but I come from that. So yeah, color, amulets, that's my thing.
Now, you started a business in the middle of a pandemic. How has that been? That took a lot of courage. So I take it it's an online business. It's not a store, brick and mortar business.
That was our biggest challenge. It was fully online, and it is to this day. I couldn't even do, one of the most important aspects for a business is to communicate with the customer. Much like you with your big how I that you had to cut it to make the little pillows, like you had this big fabric that you hand painted, but you had to come in touch with your customers so that you would see that they didn't want that big fabric to make maybe dresses, but they want something else. And then that grandma, can she too, meet my grandma and send her over to maybe give me some advice? It's been hard because we couldn't communicate with our customers. All communication was online through Instagram. And we have been homeschooling all our three children years straight. They will be going back to school this August. So it's been a thing. I couldn't go out of the house. I couldn't do any shows. And it has been hard, but I have been blessed with such support online from other women that it is beyond words. For me, online communities have helped me a lot. And then, of course, I think all of us, we need to acknowledge where we're coming from. My husband has been such a help through all this. He could feed our family. I have food on my table. It is totally different than a woman who has to put food on her table through a pandemic and her only livelihood is an online business. Hats off to these moms. I don't know how they have done it because I know several that have. I had the blessing of doing it with the luxury of having food on my table and not having that agony. Are we going to have something to eat tomorrow? So it's been hard, but I acknowledge that it's not nearly been as hard as other people and what they had to go through.
Yeah.
It's cutting out.
I'm saying, I thought you said the sound had cut out. All right. So if time was an illusion, if time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future was here in the same timeline, and I could take you into the future to have a conversation with the 100-year-old you, what would you say to this wise woman who's led you this far based on how you're living your life?
Ooh, well, 100-year-old Vicky, I want you to know that I am sorry that I haven't taken very good care of you for the past 6 or 7 years, that I let a lot of my habits lapse. And I didn't go to the gym, and I was not doing what I should be doing in terms of my eating. But now at this age, I want to tell you that I am committed to building up my health. And I hope that you at 100 years old can see how I made my best from this age and on to have you as healthy as possible, and to have you surrounded by people that love you and inspire you. And I want you, Vicky, of 100 years old, to know that I am building these relationships for you now, much like I was building my relationships from the age of what, 6 years old till now, because I have the same friends all these years. So yeah, that's what I want my 100-year-old self to know, that I'm doing my best so that she is in the best place possible. And if you have to share anything with me, please come. Please come share.
Excited to see where this business will go going forwards. And thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Her Story Circle movement is attracting some amazing and inspirational women who are changing careers, reinventing themselves. But Vicky, you are an example of somebody who's living life to the full. I commend you for that. It takes a lot of courage to change careers. And now you're doing something that will help you look after your kids, be at home, but tap into your one true love and passion. And that's a beautiful thing to observe and see. Thank you so much for coming online and sharing with us today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, everybody. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now.
Thank you so much.
Vicky, you will need to unmute yourself for us. Thank you.
I was watching myself and I was like, okay, that is prepared to go online and give an interview look versus, hey, I just came up from the outside, but randomly. I was looking at the differences, and it is funny because I could not really remember what I told myself. And yeah, I'm like, and I told Gertrude, it's like, oh, you didn't prepare me for that. And she said, I never ever prepare anyone of that one question, what it's gonna be. And it was like really, really interesting.
Thank you, Vicky. Absolutely wonderful. One of the things you're not aware of is we've been discussing you with one of our investors. We have a vision to empower women in third world countries to make an income by making necklaces and beadwork. I think I told you a little bit about it when we met. And your colors, your designs, some of them are so African. It gives me goosebumps, you know. I can see us being able to infuse an Afro fusion and creating a line of jewelry that you design that the women in Africa can actually put together and make a living from. So I'm going to be in touch with you next week so we can talk to my investors and we can see how we can create women's cooperatives in third world countries.
That would be amazing. I mean, I have goosebumps now because one of my favorite memories is when I visited Ceuta. And we were in an international conference, and actually we took the boat and we went ahead to visit Ceuta. I was like, I need to be in this, I don't know, it's calling me. And second, I had a friend, he was in Africa, he's a family physician, he moved to Australia, and I was like, how are you doing this to me right when I was really trying to have you help me find some women in the local communities to work with me, and now there you are. You know, that happened like, at least, I don't know, it was at like two years ago, it was before we immigrated. I'm like, now I am having the goosebumps because it's something that I've always wanted to do. Please.
That's wonderful. That's really exciting.
Because and it's amazing because we are also giving back to moms here in the States that are postpartum moms in need. there's a not-for-profit volunteer run in-kind boxes, and we're giving back to them, not from our profits. Whatever it is that we're making, we're giving a part back to them. And Maria is helping postpartum moms that are in need with mom and baby care essentials in a box. And it's amazing because see now, even those moms working in Africa and making a living can help other moms here in the States that just have a baby and have all these disadvantaged backgrounds. It's amazing. Please.
Yeah, this
reach
is
out, and if we
exciting.
can make it will be amazing.
That is awesome. Now, Jerry, you are muted. I'm not sure if you're aware. We've been trying to unmute you in case you wanted to say something.
I'm good. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to the video and excited about where she has taken herself. It's amazing that you did so much with being a doctor and accomplished so much with joy in that career, and you accomplished it, and I admire that a lot. And then now it's a new season, and we go through, as we get older, we go through new seasons in our lives and do different things. I had I did elderly care for 12 years, and then while I was taking care of grandma, I decided to go to school and learn sign language. And right after I got certified in sign language, she passed away, and I did 12 years as a sign language interpreter in high school. And then when my husband passed away, I had the opportunity to become a flight attendant, and each of these seasons have been joyful, and I've accomplished what I wanted to in them. And so it kind of gives me a lot of joy to see that you're doing a new season and that you're going to take this and run with it. That's awesome. And especially if you're able to teach women in Africa your skill, that's something that's near and dear to my heart. So thank you for, I was hoping that we were going to hear the end of that, because when it stopped the first time, it stopped right when you said when you turned 67, you were going to do the jewelry. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to see more. So I was really grateful that you came back on, or that you joined us, and that we got to hear the rest of it. Amazing.
I think I was discussing with one of my mentors. I've been so blessed to have so many mentors along my way, both the medical and now. And the amazing thing is that, at least in my case, a mentor is not going to show up, at least before I am in the stage when I can get and appreciate what they can give me. But until I come to that stage when I meet my next mentor, I am always like in a sitting phase. Nothing is happening, nothing is moving. It feels like everything is stagnant. I'm trying so many things and they're not working. And by the time that come on, please, I need a sign. Boom, comes a mentor. And I'm like, okay, I know. This is my sign that, I'm on the process, and the process is going to bring me to where, maybe not where I was thinking I would be going, but to where I need to be to serve the higher reason why I'm put on this world. I don't know why I'm put on this world. But I know that somehow our presence here is serving something. And if that something is something good, then all is well done.
Very nice.
Vicki, I too believe that things happen for a reason, and as a Christian and spiritual, but it happens in due time. We may want it now, but sometimes it just is a little bit late. I am 72, and I pray to have a job where I can use my talents, my gifts, and along comes Gertrude, and she says, "This may be what you need," after she interviewed me. And so I am here trying to be technical and all of that stuff at 72. So it happens in due time.
They say when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
I don't remember who I was discussing this with, but I was like, I had such an epiphany of this, because I was like, what is like success? What is successful? What is a very successful business? Tell me, Vicky, like if you had a wild dream, what would be like to have $600 in a day? And what if dear Lord gave you $600 today? When would you be able to fulfill these 600 items and serve your customer? And with that, make sure that your business is shut down tomorrow. Because if you haven't built that infrastructure, that like I am not in this position now. So it is a blessing that success comes to meet you at the pace that we are working at. Maybe sometimes it comes and you have to do your pace a little faster, but a little. And I have seen other companies, some of them on Shark Tank, that close these deals and have this sudden success. And when they are not in the right place to fulfill it, then they are doomed. And I'm like, no, I don't want that scenario. I'd rather take the slow, sustainable growth and stay the path and be a good girl, unless I am differently guided. So that is like a pact I have with myself. It's like you're staying on the path until you get a different guidance somehow. Like Gertrude had with her $1 million deal she walked out on.
That's so true. It's not about running. It's not about trying to just get there fast. It's about getting there with integrity and honesty and pulling other people up along the way.
Absolutely. I love your energy, Vicky.
Thank you so much.
I truly do. And your story resonates with mine very strongly. You being from Greece and migrating to the US, I can understand the challenges that comes along the way culturally, language, with so many aspects, right? And having family overseas. And I heard you saying that you have been blessed with having lots of mentors in your life, right? That you have continued support throughout your career and your business at the moment. What I was wondering is there anyone perhaps in your family or your circle of friends who's always been there, or someone that you would love to say, thank you, I couldn't have done it without you, or someone that has really, maybe extend a hand to you when maybe you were in a moment where wondering and questioning yourself, what am I doing? I'm supposed to focus on my medical career. What is wrong with me?
I have so many. My blessing is that I have so many. And the interesting thing is that not well, there is mom, there is dad. Those are like pillars in my life. And I know that I had the blessing to have such good parents. And you come to realize that later in life when you see that not every child has the same blessing. And for me, like I was just replying to my mom, I can talk to you today. I will call you tomorrow. We are okay here. And I was like, what a blessing to be able to send a message to my mom. And I was thinking, what about immigrants in the older days that they didn't have this phone, this messenger, and they had to write a letter, and maybe the letter would come too late back to Greece. It's like there's a lot of Greek songs around that. There's a word in the Greek language. It's xerizomos, and this word means tearing you out of your roots. That's what they are saying about immigration. So you are xerizomen, someone torn you out of your roots and threw you away in another country. Wow. So, and then my uncle that I also mentioned, Bodosakis, he's my second dad. And then my mom-in-law, she's my other mom. She's like literally a mom to me. They had us in their house with my dad-in-law, my late dad-in-law. We lost him through the pandemic. That was a very hard hit on us. When I left Greece, I never thought that I would not be seeing him again, and it was really hard. So we had to cope with a lot. And then our uncle, his brother, and they were important figures for me. And sometimes when I need guidance, I may tap in my heart and say, what would he say now? what would like your uncle say now? What would your dad-in-law say now? Because my dad-in-law was also a little strict. Like my dad is a little strict. He would say his opinion, and he was like, "Girl, you might not like what I have to tell you, but this is what you need to hear right now." And I appreciate that very much. And then all the mentors that I had in my business, there's so many, and they pop up intuitively. They may call me out of nowhere when I'm in my darkest hour, and the right persons. My bestie in Boston, who immigrated here a couple of years before I did, for some reason, and we were together. We grew up together. We were sitting on the same desk in elementary school, and then randomly she will pick up the phone and call me on the right moment when I need someone. And I'm the kind of person, sometimes when I do need someone, I reach out, and there are other times when I'm like, you gotta go through this alone. Like, don't put that burden on other people. But then someone else is gonna come up. And I'm so blessed. There are many. I have so many people in my life. I don't want to just mention some, because it's all of them. Really.
That's so beautiful, Vicky. That's so powerful for someone to see your light in moments.
And that's what I also told my 100-year-old self. Hey, I'm building you more of those amazing people.
Yes.
Because some of them I haven't talked to in years, but I know I can go back and I'll lift the phone and talk to them, and it's gonna be like, wait, it was just yesterday.
That's beautiful and so powerful.
Connection. It's all about connection. We're all connected anyway. And we make our mistakes along the way, and we learn, and we go. Nobody's perfect, and it's very easy to be hard on yourself, and easy on other people. That's another lesson like I learned through life. If you would not say that to your best friend, don't say that to yourself.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I really wanted to go back and listen to the story of Dr. Teddy, because from what I understood, she also was in the medical field. And so many amazing people. There's so many people in medicine that have taken something else out of their lives to become doctors. I've had so many talented friends that were also painters that had been acknowledged, and then they said, no, it's either this or medicine, and I want to serve people. I think that my decision to not be in medicine, said no, without knowing that COVID would hit, then I was thinking, look, God guided you that way. What if you were here and you were in the medical field and you had passed the USMLEs and you had 3 little kids and you had to go back and forth to the hospital? Would you be able to go back in your house? So it is. This is why I strongly believe we are where we are supposed to be in life. Nowhere else. Here's where we're supposed to be. We have to serve here, to give our best self, and then we're gonna be driven down the path to our next, existence, whatever it is.
Okay. Vicki, this broadcast is being streamed, and you can watch it as many times as you want on Facebook, LinkedIn, as well as YouTube.
Thank you so much. My mom is waiting. She loves.
Oh, you just sent the link? Okay.
I just sent you the link, Vicki, on Facebook.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Facebook is down, by the way, not only for me, it's worldwide. Something is wrong with Facebook. It looks like there's a glitch on Facebook, and this is why I couldn't log in. I could log in from my phone, but not from my computer, so I couldn't get the link. But I'm like, I persevered. I'm like, no, you're gonna find a way. So I went on Instagram. I went on my phone. I copied the link from Facebook Messenger, sent it to myself on Instagram, and then I logged in on Instagram from my computer to get the link.
Vicki, what is your mom's name?
Oh, that's a magic name. That's the only name that I couldn't give to my children because I have 3 boys. So her name is Smaragda. That means emerald in Greek.
Smaragda.
Smaragda, yeah.
Smaragda.
But there is a male equivalent, and actually in Greece the names are of the saints of Greek church. So there was this saint, and his name was Maragdos, that is like the male name for Smaragda. But that is a name that didn't carry down to Greece today. So I couldn't give that name. And my mom, yeah.
Let's send all our love and to your mom. She must be really beautiful.
My mom, my dad, and my mom-in-law, Fanny,
All
the
of them.
ones that we have there, they're waiting for us.
Let's send them a big hug and lots of love. Absolutely.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Vicky. I'll catch up with you next week. Wonderful. You can hang around if you want. We would love to have you hang out with us if you don't have anything to do, but if you need to go, we understand.
I need to go, but thank you so much. I will log back in and watch everyone. And if you can get Ruki and share my email with all the amazing people in your circle, and I would love to connect.
Fantastic. Thank you, Vicky.
Great.
Wonderful morning, ladies.
Yes. We're just moving along. So
what a beautiful morning, Gertrude.
Yeah, it's been great. And I've had time just to relax. I've jumped into the shower. I feel human again.
Beautiful.
So who do we have next?
I do believe we have Melissa, Terry.
the next person should be Becky. We haven't done Becky yet. We've skipped over her.
Okay.
And I have the bio, Manuela.
Oh, fantastic.
Okay. We've been trying to get her on for the last couple of days, but we've just been off script quite a bit, but it's been good. It's been good. Okay. Let's see what we have. Becky Tahel, she's a writer and a filmmaker. As a writer and producer, Becky has worked with some of the most influential content creators. She has produced content for countless Jewish organizations as well, including a groundbreaking series on the relevance of Judaism for Jewish Unpacked. And she's spoken before Israel presidents at their residence. And as an American birthright, she has a feature documentary that follows Becky's grapple with religion, love, and identity after her younger sister marries a non-Jew. So I would like to present to you Becky Tall.
Trying to queue up a video. Be with you in a sec.
Okay.
From Los Angeles, California. This is where I currently live.
So welcome, Becky. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, how old you are, and share your story with us today.
Hello. It is such an honor and a pleasure to be here. My name is Becky Tahel. I am from Los Angeles, California. This is where I currently live, and I'm 35 years old. My story spans what feels like many lifetimes, but we'll talk about this one in particular. I was born in Israel and raised in Philadelphia. We moved when I was very little. And for me, it was always about fitting in and carving out an identity that felt right. And that has been a through line in many ways of my story. And growing up in Philadelphia as a child of immigrants, as an immigrant myself, it wasn't easy to figure out my story, figure out who I am, figure out what I stand for. And as I went to college for communication and theater and put on many masks of an actress, I realized that there was more out there, that there was a deeper calling. And I found a lot of my callings answered in California. And so I right after college, moved out to Los Angeles, found rooting rather quickly. I became an assistant and started to piece out what I was being called to LA to do. It was clear to me that I wanted to create. It just wasn't as clear to me exactly how. So as I journeyed through Los Angeles, as many do, sort of bumping around into things, trying to figure out what it is I'm meant to do, I got very lucky to babysit for a celebrity family. The father had been an actor since he was a child, and they took me in to be their nanny. And very quickly, he realized that I wasn't really a nanny and that I should be creating my work, and passed me on to a colleague of his who I started assisting. And very shortly, during that time, I started to audition, and I booked a role as the matzo ball maker of a J-Date commercial. And so J-Date's like this Jewish dating platform, and I became the face of like the Jewish young single. And that was funny because, of course, being a Jewish girl, single in Los Angeles, that felt very much the rightful role. And at the same time, my sister, my younger sister, like the constitution of the good Jewish daughter, set to be a doctor in medical school, straight A's, right? All of the things that, for me, a little bit differently, that wasn't necessarily my track. I was trying to become an actress in Los Angeles without such clear direction. My younger sister gets engaged to a non-Jew. And as Jews, to me, that wasn't a part of sort of what we were indoctrinated and brought up to believe was optimal. Jews marry other Jews. We're such a small people. And so interfaith marriage, and marrying outside of the faith was sort of frowned upon in my family. And so I was really bumped by my sister's decision to marry a non-Jew, and felt really judgmental of myself. I was like, why do I feel so bumped by this? Like, why can't I just be the cool older sister that's just really happy my sister's found love? What is this about? And so naturally, in that moment, I felt like, though, this is my story. This is the story. Is this a piece of my soul's work that I'm meant to do? Is to shine light on this topic that I'm sure I'm not the only one walking with. Like, I'm sure there are others struggling with this sort of synthesizing of culture and faith and religion with being a modern person walking around in, the 20th century at the time. So I dove into creating a documentary, and 7 years later, it has now been birthed into the world. It has been in the film festival circuit for the last year, doing rather well. We've won Best Director at Idlewild International, and Best Documentary was the audience choice at Seattle Jewish Film Festival. We've been in over a dozen other film festivals, and it's been very, very overwhelming and wonderful and exciting to see this film out in the world. But really, the story here is that through my own experience being bumped by my sister's decision to do something that felt so counter to what we were raised with, I found my own vulnerability. I found my own authenticity, and I found my own voice. And as opposed to just being sort of like, bumped by it and not wanting to deal with it, I ran into the discomfort, and from that place created a film that is what we're finding, helping other people to ask the bigger questions of themselves. Who are they? What means anything to them, right? So the initial question I ask in the documentary is, why marry Jewish? Why is that such a thing? And other wisdom traditions, of course, are reflecting onto that question, their own questions. Why marry Catholic? Why marry Hindu? Why marry Buddhist? Why marry whatever religion you're from? Why marry Muslim? And what I found that happens when you walk with a question long enough and truthfully enough is that you often uncover there's a deeper question waiting to be birthed. And that's what happened to me. That 2 years after asking that initial question and trying to make this piece, I found that there was a deeper question waiting to be birthed. And that question was, why be Jewish? Why be anything? Why self-identify in that sort of way with a wisdom tradition that I was born into? And I was very much confronted with these larger questions of spirituality, of religious association, and of values, deep core values. And I realized that if I could answer the second question, why be Jewish, I could then circle back to that initial question, why marry Jewish, and have a truthful answer to me, not one that serves my family, not one that necessarily serves what I've been told is right. And if you watch the documentary, I don't want to spoil it, I do come out the other side with clarity. And that has been a blessing in my life. But more than that, the film has been sparking that sort of internal dialogue with others, and having them question their own sets of values, their own clarity, and their own direction in life. And I think that is the power of film, is that, much like we walk out of the Karate Kid wanting to kick like the Karate Kid, or for me, it was Free Willy. I remember walking out of the movie theater, like really wanting a whale. It was not very logistically sound, but that idea that we so resonate with a protagonist and that we find ourselves sort of drawn into their story. And it's a mirror for us in many ways. We watch the protagonist pack up their bags and fly off to pursue truth. And we think to ourselves, well, if she could do it, if he can do it, then I can do it. And that is such a powerful piece of what I feel like, mindful media is about, and what I've committed myself to continuing to do is to tell powerful stories. This one happens to be my own, but I find myself helping to create stories based on not just myself or things that I'm drawn to, but many important pieces and stories that need to be shared in the world. Not just to share them and simply to entertain, though I think that is very valuable. We should all be entertained, and that is absolutely a value of mine, to entertain, but also to cause us to really think deeper, to consciously create our lives, and to live a more meaningful existence. So to me, the ideal marriage in film is that there's like a really compelling story that also somehow helps us to dig deep and to come forth with more of ourselves, and to leave the movie a different person, a changed person. So now, 7 years after having started this film, and a year after having birthed it, I am back in LA. My husband and I just took a year off on the road during COVID in an RV with our toddler, and traveled around and saw the rest of the country. And we're back in LA, carving out our production company and continuing to do good work. And I'm so excited to continue to share my story, to use my vulnerability and the things that were not necessarily easy for me to confront. Certainly hasn't been an easy time and an easy journey. But I think that's our shared currency, is our mess. And for so long, that hasn't been a really cool thing to share. And I'm really glad that people are stepping into their mess. They're stepping into their authenticity and their vulnerability and their fears, their concerns, their big questions. And so the sort of the movement that I'm eager to create and sustain is this walking with questions, to really own up to our questions. What are the burning questions inside of us? Because if you can own a question, whether it's small or whether it's large, you've created the vessel for that wisdom to pour in. But until you ask the question, it's like you yourself are not acknowledging that it exists. And so there's no space for any clarity to come in. So may we all own our questions, ask them boldly, and be open to the wisdom that comes in, because it can really change our life. And change is scary, and we don't often want to take it on because it might mean that things are a little rocky, or they're not the same, or maybe life doesn't look the same. But I guarantee that past that point of the initial fear, because I went through it, comes a whole lot of beauty and openness and clarity that up levels you in ways you never, ever saw coming. So to me, it's all about owning the questions and creating from that place. I think you're muted.
Yay. What an amazing story. Now, you have defied all odds with what you've done. You went against the grain of everything. How has this been perceived by your community? I know the Jewish community is very tightly knit.
Yes, I appreciate you asking that. So, initially there was fear. There's a lot of anxiety around sort of like, okay, this is a big hot button question. What exactly is the agenda here? Like, what is the final message, and what are you going to do with this? Because if you look at the current media that we see, most of what's representative of the Jewish world is not always so positive.
Wow.
And that's, to me, that's a big bummer. There's such a diverse, colorful tapestry that is Jewish practice. And often it's just not brought to the screen in a way that I feel is truthful and that I feel is as dynamic and open and just captivating. So to me, I just kept saying that, like, trust me. I think this is going to be a wonderful piece that will really educate non-Jews about Judaism, but also have Jews embracing their own Judaism in a really unique way. And it's done both. It's done the both. And I'm so glad, because I didn't want to just speak to it and then it not happen. I'm so glad that it has done that.
So if I could take you back to the younger you, that young woman who had this dream, who had this vision, who was fearful, unsure of what the future had to give, if you could give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, let's just say there's somebody listening to us right now trying to make a similar decision, what 3 nuggets of wisdom would you give her?
I wish someone told me that when something is hard, that is the exact sign that you are doing the right thing and that growth is imminent. Hard equals you're in the right place, growth is coming, hang tight, keep going, yay. That's number one. So when things are tough, and I keep reminding myself, that's my mantra, this is hard, that means I'm growing, this is wonderful, I'm going to come out the other side stronger. The second piece is that having a question and it bringing about change is not weakness. I used to think that admitting that I needed to change was a bad thing because it means I made a mistake. And so what I was doing before was not good. And the fact that I need to change means that I wasn't good. And that is so false. Change is power. Change is constant. Change is life. Change is human. And to admit change is a powerful, wonderful thing that strong, conscious humans do. And so don't be afraid of change, and don't be afraid of asking the questions that might lead to change, because that is human and that is living. People who are not asking questions and are not changing are staying in a comfort zone and are not really embracing life. So change. And the final thing that I wish I could go back and tell my younger self is that there is no perfect. There is no perfect. And it was really difficult for me in making a film because I initially didn't want to put anything on the screen due to fear of it being perceived in some way and being misperceived and it coming across wrong. And then I realized that if I can come from an honest place, that'll never be wrong. That'll never be wrong. If I can speak to it, if I'm being honest and true to myself, and I create from that place, what comes from the heart goes into the heart. So there's really no way to lose if you're creating from a heartfelt place, because in that space, from that space, only good can be created and no one can judge you for that.
Oh, that is just absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Now, let me teleport you now into the future. Time is an illusion. Your past, your present, all exist in the same timeline. And you're now 100 years old. You're sitting on your porch, surrounded by your children and your grandchildren. If you could have a conversation with that older woman, that wise woman, what would you say to her based on how you're living your life right now?
I love this exercise and I try to tap into that older self often. And thank you for this invitation. I wish I could say to her and even ask her, because I feel like that'd be really helpful for me right now, is why did I waste so much time? And maybe even asking her, what would you say was time wasted? What was a waste? And I hear her saying back to me, oh, nothing's a waste. Everything happens for a reason, right? But if I'm going to be really honest with you, maybe all that worrying and all of that fussing about little details that no one really cares about, and all of that waiting until you're ready, and all of that fear based on not having enough money or resources or knowing enough or being enough, like all of that is a waste. Though it's helpful and constructive because it's getting you to where you need to be. And so fine, let's not you can still have it, but that is a waste. So I'd love to know what fat I can trim. Where can I trim in my life right now, areas that are sucking up my energy? And I feel like my 100-year-old self could look back and tell me, oh, those areas, those are fat. You could trim them. So it'd be really nice to get that sort of clarity. And I think I would also ask her, if you could do anything differently, what would you do? And I think in my life, there have been several pivots where I've been at a crossroads, and it was like a choose your own adventure. And I had to reconcile either between my heart and my head, what made sense logically, financially, logistically, just generally, and what felt right and what I really wanted and what gave me joy. And in many moments, I've had to go with my head because, yes, this makes me really happy. But does it serve me? Does it serve my future? Does it serve the things that I want? Is it actually solid and realistic and pragmatic? But sometimes I get tripped up and I don't really know. I don't actually really know if my head is my heart or my heart is my head. And in those moments, it would be really nice to get the guidance. And I'm at a crossroads now, is just journaling about it. I'm a new mom and I'm pregnant with my second. I'm due in July. And stepping into motherhood is such a wild new journey. It's like, more difficult than any film I've ever made. And it is its own production. And every child, I say, is like a movie and they grow in their own way. But I'd love to know, what is it that I need to be doing more of? And what is it that I need to be doing less of? And do I pursue more of the creative production written work, or do I double back and take on more acting roles, or is it an either or? And is there maybe something else that I'm being called to do? Is it step into education with my films and create curriculums and go out into the world and teach? So I'd love to get some clarity. And even as I ask, I think I already hear her and I get the clarity, and maybe it's all of it, but I'd love to know.
That is just beautiful. Well, I believe that time is an illusion, that you are born with all of these answers. When I struggle, like I've been working on a movie script as well, I ask my future self, what's the next scene, or what is the next step? And through my dreams, she percolates and she guides me. And I wake up with those aha moments, but you have all the answers. They're already there. And she's just waiting in the future for you to catch up with her. So tap into the essence of her and you'll figure it out.
Thank you. That was such a perfect nugget for tonight. I so needed that. Thank you, sister.
Thank you so much for coming online and gracing us with your amazing presence. Good luck with this film. I'm going to ask you to book another appointment to connect with me next week, because there's some other things I think you and I need to talk about. It's kind of percolating in my head right now as you're speaking.
Great.
But thank you to everybody who's tuned in. The Her Story movement is attracting some phenomenal women. Please come back again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing story. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Bye for now. Thank you so much, Becky.
Thank you.
We're back. So that was another interesting young woman.
Yes.
Very different story, completely creative, like our previous guest. But her film is a very interesting one. I've watched the trailer. I can't wait to watch the whole thing.
And where do you find the film?
She only sent me a link to the trailer, so I'll try and find out where it's being aired. It might be in small independent theaters at the moment.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Good stuff. Well, we've had an interesting day so far.
We have indeed.
Very fascinating. I'm just sad I missed Sheer. I was in the shower when she was speaking, so I'll have to watch her video. Tell her I said congratulations, Jerry.
I will.
Yeah. I'm so happy she got her book out.
Yeah, she did.
That's awesome. So who do we have next, Manuela?
I believe we have Melissa next, Gertrude.
So, do you have her bio? I'll cue the video.
Yes, I do. Melissa Bouknight is a multi-passionate entrepreneur, adventurer, mother, wife, and a coach at the Ripple Connection. Through her signature program, The Bridge, she ignites heart-led women to embody their purpose and bravely design life on their terms.
You ready for the video?
Yes, we are.
Okay. All right, here we go.
Hello, I am Melissa Bouknight, and I'm going to share my story with you today. And this story is going to start as the 21-year-old version of myself. So I'm in a therapist's office for the first time in my life, and I remember just being so overtaken by anger and slamming a ball against the floor, against the wall, and using this movement to channel the anger through my body that I had no idea how to deal with. You see, at that time in my life, I was really anxious and I didn't have the language to describe what it was. I didn't have the background to know how to navigate this emotion in my body. And I also didn't understand the role that anger actually needed to play to allow me to start to heal my nervous system. So I'm standing in this therapist's office, channeling my anger through this ball, and it's the start of my healing journey right there in that office. Now, I didn't know this at the time. I just knew that I was really angry at a boyfriend for cheating on me. And what I now know is that our greatest struggles are often our biggest teachers. I'm now almost a 40-year-old woman who has been on a very intentional healing journey over the last decade of my life. You see, we can go from living in the automatic and having all of these subconscious thoughts, beliefs, traumas running the show, or we can choose to bring them to surface. We can choose to shine light on them so that we can choose to live the life that we want to live. I started to do some personal growth work 7 years ago through a company called Landmark Worldwide. My life was really good at the time, honestly. I'd had a very successful corporate career. I was doing medical device sales. I'd actually had a full corporate career of 15 years in sales and was in the top 1 to 10% of my peers that time. And life was good. I had good friends. I had moved courageously to Colorado a few years before where I had known nobody. And I had found my way. I had found myself. I had found my people. I'd found a job. I was starting to figure it out. And it felt like I was learning who I was. And life was good. But I kept thinking, what if life could be great? What if there are things that I don't even know about that would give me access to a whole nother level of life? And I allowed that question to drive me to getting curious. So I started in the Landmark Forum, and in that body of work, I started to look at, why do I think the thoughts that I think? Where do my beliefs come from? Do they belong to me? Do I want them to stay this way? And what kind of life would I choose? Is it the one that I'm living, or is it a different one that I get to decide to create? And through that body of work, those questions continued to drive me to dig deeper, to get more curious. And I'm pretty sure those questions are going to drive me to the end of this life. So as I've continued to ask myself those questions, I was looking at my career at the time and I thought, this isn't it. This isn't it. And how could it not be it? I had wanted this so badly. I really wanted this sexy career where I could make a lot of money and I was making a difference. I was helping heal people's bodies. But why didn't I want it? It didn't feel like it belonged to me anymore. It felt like it belonged to a younger version of myself who didn't know any different. And now that I was starting to get clear on what I really wanted for my life, it no longer fit. And so I started to look at, what do I really want? Well, I want to do work that makes a difference. I want to do something that has a bigger social impact. I want to do something that utilizes all of my gifts so that I can use the struggles that I've overcome in my life to make a difference with other people. I want to step into a leadership role. I want to guide women. And so when I started to look at all of the answers to these questions, I knew that I needed to make a change, but I was terrified. I was so terrified to make a change because this is what I'd known. This is what I'd spent my whole life preparing for. This is what I checked all the boxes to do and to have and to be. And I wanted something different. It's a scary time. It's a scary time to start to realize that. And it can happen at any time of your life. So I chose to start a side passion project with a company called Beauty Counter, which is a direct sales organization that has a huge social impact backbone. And the mission is to transform the entire personal care industry. That seemed really exciting for me. And I looked at my values and what I really wanted to prioritize moving forward. And it checked all the boxes. And I thought, I'm going to go for it. I'm going to do this thing that feels really scary and work towards exiting this career that I know no longer fits me. Now, in the meantime, I became a mom. So add that layer on top of starting to question my whole life and wanting to exit my career, I became a mom. And I don't know if you could ever be prepared to be a mom, but I was not prepared to be a mom. Even though I'd done 12 birthing classes, so that side of me that loves to gather all the information and get my brain on board with what my body's about to do was fulfilled. However, reading a lot about it and taking classes doesn't actually prepare your body for what it's about to go through. And so I'm building this side business. I'm working on exiting my career, and I have this baby, my son Jack, who will be 5 this week. And my body got wrecked, and so did my mind. He was a beautiful, healthy boy, and we're so lucky that he is who he is. And I experienced a major pelvic floor trauma during this time, and I didn't know what was going on in my body. And it took several practitioners to even tell me that there was a whole profession called pelvic floor therapy. So it took me months of trying to figure out why was my body in so much pain. I spent a total of 3 years physically healing from this injury to my body. And that didn't fully go away until I addressed the emotional trauma that was being stored in my body. This injury to my body has been my guiding light since he was born, in the way in which I live my life through a lens of healing myself. I learned how much our nervous system stores inside of it from our lifetimes and from our ancestors. I learned that this trauma that came forward, thank goodness, through the birth of my son, was here to teach me. It was here to be my guide, and it was here to move me into the direction that I've been moving in my life ever since. It wanted me to know that my emotions were connected to my body. It wanted me to know that there was a bigger trauma underneath the surface that needed addressing. It wanted to guide me towards learning more about the nervous system, learning about neuroscience, learning about somatic movement in addition to all of the mindset and behavioral education that I'd been doing. My body intervened and told me that I was going in a new direction. And so I've been listening to her ever since. And my journey leaving my career, which happened to be in healing, by the way, I was selling a regenerative skin substitute that helped people's bodies heal themselves. My healing journey was the thing that had me leave this career that was all about healing and continues to guide me down a career of healing other people. And now I do it in a totally different way. So I use my journey of learning how to navigate my anxiety from totally losing myself in motherhood and wondering, who am I? Along with this body trauma that I was experiencing and the emotional trauma that went along with it, that I was learning how to heal, and all of the other things that are in between the lines here. So I've taken my journey, my courageous journey of self-exploration and healing, and I will be committed to that for my entire life. But what I've done is now I use it for good. Now I use it to pay it forward to other people, because I know the power of looking inward so that we can make the difference that we're here to make on the outside. And so many women in my life and in my coaching programs know that they're here to make more, just like I did, and I do. And the way in which we do that is we continue to learn about ourselves. The easiest question to ask yourself with the most complex answers is, why am I the way that I am? And who do I want to be? So I continue to peel back the layers of myself. I continue to do various modalities like EMDR. I use human design. I use astrology. I use meditation. I use somatic movement as some of the top ways in which I continue to peel back the layers of myself so that I can get to know my most authentic self and reconnect with my spiritual practice in a way that's completely authentic to me. I want to be the permission, and I am the permission for other women to do the same. I am authentically leading my life in a very curious way and teaching other women what I am gathering along the way. I want to be your permission to go deeper, to ask scary questions, to create a vision for your life so big that it scares the shit out of you, but you can never imagine walking away from it. You can't imagine anything other than that being your reality. I believe that we get to create a life by our own design. I believe that we get to live a life so lit up that it has people around you wondering, what is she doing? I believe that we get to choose our thoughts, that they get to inform our new beliefs, and that we get to take action with intention. So that when we look at our own lives, it feels like it's ours. I want to look at my life for the rest of my life and feel like it belongs to me. I want to continue to realize that any struggle I come up against, and I will, that it's here to teach me, that it's here to be my guide, and that my pain becomes my power every single time. And I would not be the woman I am today. I would not be the life alignment coach that I am today. I would not be the mom that I am today had I not decided to take care of myself, had I not decided to listen to what my body was demanding from me. So my body's been my teacher. And I'm so grateful for her. So what does future Melissa Bachknight's story look like? Well, my goal and my intention is to create a global brand out of the Ripple Connection that brings together women living in purpose, on purpose, making a difference simply by being themselves, simply by being willing to be their most authentic expression. and being courageous to stand in that. And I envision in the future of my life and my business that I will be linking arms with millions of people around the world in order to bring this movement to life. I envision live events with packed houses, deep, intimate retreats that will be so nourishing and healing to every woman that comes. And I envision living a calm, grounded, lit up life as a mom of my amazing, magical son, as a friend in my community, as a wife, and as somebody who deeply adores and loves myself. And my vision will never stop growing. It'll never stop driving me. It's my North Star. And I get to continue to become the woman who is capable of bringing that big, powerful, courageous vision to life.
Wow. That was a powerful presentation. Very, very clear, focused. She knows exactly where she's going in life. Beautiful to watch.
She did a really good job. That was beautiful.
It was indeed, it was very beautiful and powerful, and his story, Melissa's story, resonates with me very strongly, and I'm really sure that he's going to be making reports all over the world, globally. Absolutely, 100%.
And self-care is something all women need to be more aware of.
Yes.
And make it a priority. That's always the last thing we do, is to really take care of ourselves.
I know.
Yeah. So we might
Like,
end up.
Don't you have? Sorry, Hedra. Don't you have this feeling? We know. Like I always say, we have this inner intelligence, this inner knowing, and I think sometimes I feel like the key is just to remember, right? That's all we have to do. Remember our intuition. Remember our power. Remember our purpose. Remember who we are, who we used to be before we got married, right? Remember where we came from. Remember your roots. And I think everything gets so busy and we go with the flow sometimes that we need to stop and just remember. I think that's such a key. Remember what, because we have that inner knowledge. We have the intuition. We know what we want. We know who we are. We just forget.
I think you're right. It's a remembrance.
Yeah.
And honoring who we are. Once you remember, then you can honor who you are. And how you can honor who you are? You can honor who you are by taking time off for yourself, by going for a walk, having a rest, turning your phone off. My daughter is old enough for me to say, "Look, darling, I'm gonna go to my room and turn the light off and disappear for an hour." Right? But there are other. I have no family here other than her. But there are other ways, for you to find your own space to disconnect. Is so important.
Wonderful. So we might end our day on this note, ladies. We had a full house today.
Wonderful.
Amazing group of women. Wonderful conversations. And thank you so much for holding space to allow these beautiful stories to breathe.
It was a good day. Thank you.
It's always beautiful and inspiring, Hedra, to be part of the story circle. Thank you so much.
And I'm sorry I didn't get to meet you in person, Manuela.
It's okay. Next time.
To meet me.
I would have wanted you next time.
for anything. When I come back next, we'll definitely have that coffee date.
Absolutely. That would be wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much,
for
Gertrude.
being here. Jerry, I'll see you tomorrow. Take care, Manuela.
Thank you.
I'm not going to be here tomorrow.
You're not? Okay. I'll probably be with Terry and Ruth.
No.
All right, everybody. Thank you so
much.
much.
Bye-bye.
Bye.